Chapter 839. I didn't refine them. Their souls are all in the nourishing ghost pond, in Father's Dawn Palace. I really didn't. Yang Zigu's shout caused an uproar in the hall. Yan Chuan's previous version was just a guess if one looked into it seriously. It couldn't form the truth because there was no evidence to back it up. But now, Yang Zigu's words confirmed Yan Chuan's words. Because, the evidence was already there. There was already evidence. No matter what the truth was, Mo Yushi was the culprit. The 5 sect masters looked coldly at Yang Zigu. Mo Yushi grabbed Yan Chuan's sleeve in agitation. Yan Chuan smiled and patted Mo Yushi's hand to comfort her. Then, he gave Mo Yushi a look. Mo Yushi immediately stepped forward. Reporting to Holy Lord, the evidence is conclusive. Please give the order to retrieve the 7 souls in the nourishing ghost pond, in Dawn Palace to prove Yushi's innocence. Mo Yushi said solemnly. Mohina Dojin's expression changed when he heard this. He turned around and knelt down. Holy Lord, I was just being hot-headed. I beg of you, Holy Lord, to spare my son Yang Zhijiu on account of my many years of service. Tao Lord Black Sun said in a panic. Holy Lord, my son died unjustly. Please uphold justice. Lan Yu True Monarch turned around and knelt down. Holy Lord, please uphold justice for my son. The other 4 sect masters also shouted. Yang Zigu and Guyu Holy Sun were stunned. Yang Zigu knelt down in fear and shouted, It wasn't me. I didn't do it. Please, Holy Lord. Guyu Holy Sun looked at the fire-type Immortal stone again. But the Immortal stone was too similar. Why? If this isn't my 3rd brother's soul, why is it connected to my mind? Guyu Holy Sun rushed forward and shouted. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi ignored him. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. Guyu Holy Sun, the outcome has been decided. The saintess is innocent. Stop pestering her. I want to know why. Guyu Holy Sun said angrily. Because the ancient moon saint child understood that once the 7 godly souls were exposed, everything would be ruined. It's connected to your mind because it contains your hair, your 3rd brother's aura, and your 3rd brother's blood from Northern Mo Hall. Mr. Wenrua explained. Ah, Yan Chuan, how dare you? The ancient moon Holy Sun roared in anger. The ancient moon saint child's roar shocked the true monarchs in the hall. You. It wasn't just him. Almost everyone in the hall had been fooled by Yan Chuan. Using a scam to reveal the truth. Many people looked at the ancient Yu Holy Sun with pity. Why did he have to do this? On the dragon throne, Jing Ming also looked at the immortal stone with a faint smile. Guyu Holy Sun, this isn't a scam. This is called giving someone a taste of their own medicine. I hope you know what's good for you. Yan Chuan said calmly. Guyu Holy Sun's eyes were red. He clutched the immortal stone with a twisted expression. Hatred. Who did he hate? This was all caused by his father and Yang Zigu. The others were only trying to protect themselves by revealing the truth. Guyu Holy Sun turned and looked at Yang Zigu with hatred. Mohina Dojin knelt in front of Jing Ming and apologized profusely. Holy Lord, please show mercy. Please forgive my son, Yang Zigu. Mohina Dojin begged Jing Ming. Guyu Holy Sun turned and looked. Tears welled up in his eyes again. His father was begging him just to save Yang Zigu. What about his 8 brothers? Mohina Dojin, do you know your crime? Jing Ming said calmly. Yes, Sun Attendant knows his mistake. Please, Holy Lord, please show mercy. Mohina Dojin pleaded. Chapter 840. Then what do you think we should do? Jing Ting asked. When Jing Ting asked Mao Ri how to deal with this matter, he was obviously biased. Mohina Dojin's eyes lit up. Don't worry, Holy Lord. A life for a life. whoever killed them will pay with their life. Mohina Dojin immediately said. Father! Guyu Holy Son exclaimed. A life for a life? Was Mohina Dojin trying to get rid of the real culprit? Was he going to use his brother and sister to pay with their lives? No, father. They are your children too. Yes, yes. Guyu Holy Son said anxiously. Tears of despair flowed out of his eyes. Just as Yen Chuan said, the 8 brothers had been treated unfairly since they were young. They were very close to each other. When he saw that Mohina Dojin was going to use his brothers and sisters to protect Yang Zigu, Guyu Holy Son's heart turned cold. Mohina Dojin ignored Guyu Holy Son and continued speaking. Don't worry, Holy Lord. I will compensate all the victims of this incident. I promise. Mohina Dojin said sincerely. Jing Ting nodded in satisfaction. Of course, this was nothing to Jing Ting. The world in Jing Ting's eyes was on a different level from the world in their eyes. Mou Shi. Jing Ting suddenly said. Yes, your disciple is here. Mou Shi quickly stepped forward. You have been wronged this time. I have received the Wu clan's token. From today onwards, Mou Shi will be promoted to the new Dao Lord of the Great Zhao Holy Ground. Jing Ting said softly. Dao Lord? There was an uproar in the hall. More than 100 Dao Lords had been staring at this position with wide eyes. How had Mou Shi suddenly become a Dao Lord? Each and every one of their gazes towards Mou Shi instantly became envious. A Dao Lord. With the help of merit, one's cultivation speed would increase by 100 times. A true monarch was only 10 times stronger. Of course, none of them dared to question Jing Ming. However, at this moment, someone stood out. Sect Master Lan Yu, perfected Lord Lan Yu, suddenly said, Holy Master, you can't do that. Although our son wasn't killed by Mou Shi, she can't escape responsibility. Sacred Master, Mou Shi is still young and hasn't made enough contributions to the Great Zhao's sacred ground. Being called a sacred maiden is already the limit. How can she be called a Dao Lord? Another sect master called out. Jing Ting turned his head, his expression cold. Jing Ting's expression changed. Dao Lord Blue Nether, who was about to speak, did not dare to say anything. Sacred Lord, I dare not overstep my bounds. It's just a suggestion, just a suggestion. Supreme Lan Yu immediately said fearfully. It's just a suggestion. The person who had objected earlier immediately shouted. One look was enough to scare the upper void realm cultivators into changing their words. Yen Chuan, who was in the main hall, revealed a look of surprise. Jing Ting took a deep breath and said, Mou Shi is officially promoted to Great Zhao Dao Lord. She shall be called Dao Lord Yu Shi. Boom! Above the cloud sea of merit, there was a sudden loud sound. The Dharma idol that represented Mou Shi suddenly grew stronger and moved very far away from Jing Ting. In the blink of an eye, it moved to the front and was at the same position as the 2 Dao Lords, Maori and Yu Yu, bowing respectfully to Jing Ting. Whoosh! A wave of golden merit rushed down and enveloped Mou Shi in the blink of an eye, entering Mou Shi's body. Dao Lord Yu Shi. Thank you, Sacred Lord. Mou Shi was so emotional that her face was red. Jing Ting nodded and turned to look at the jealous perfected lords in the main hall. He said again, Mou Shi may not have made enough contributions to the Great Zhao Dao, but Mou Shi is my daughter. Does anyone have any doubts? Mou Shi is my daughter. Does anyone have any doubts? The moment Jing Ting spoke, almost everyone in the main hall was stunned. Didi daughter? The Sacred Lord's daughter? The perfected cultivators who were jealous a moment ago suddenly realized something. Their jealousy immediately disappeared. At the same time, they looked at Mou Shi in shock. Wasn't Mou Shi the daughter of that Dao Lord in the past? How did she become the Sacred Lord's daughter? If this came from someone else, no one would believe it. It was impossible. However, this came from Jing Ting. How could it be false? The Sacred Lord's daughter. The Sacred Lord did not have any relatives. How did he suddenly have one? Almost all the perfected lords sucked in a breath of cold air. They all looked at Mo Yushi respectfully. At the same time, they wanted to slap themselves. During this period, Mo Yushi had been treated coldly. Wouldn't it be great if they went to help her? How big of a favor would that be? No wonder Shangguanwan took care of Mo Yushi so much. So she was the Sacred Lord's daughter. Some of the perfected lords who had offended Mo Yushi in the past were even more terrified. Not to mention Mo Yushi's identity as Tao Lord, just sigh. Everyone kept thinking about how to apologize. On the second stage, perfected Lord Lan Yu and the sect master who had opposed Mo Yushi were dumbfounded. The Sacred Lord's daughter. Everyone lamented. Did they just sow discord between the Sacred Lord's family? If they had known, only a fool would have said so. Yang Zigu and Gu Yu Holy Sun also looked at Mo Yushi in shock. They did not expect this. Who would have expected this? Mo Yushi also stared blankly at Jing Ting, who was sitting on the dragon throne. Mother? How could this be? Mo Yushi had never seen her mother. Her father had single-handedly raised her. Since she was young, Mo Yushi had thought that her mother was dead. But today, she suddenly appeared. Mo Yushi was at a loss for what to do. Yan Chuan's expression changed. Everything suddenly became clear. Why did Mohina Dojin spend so much effort to frame Mo Yushi? It was easy to get Mo Yushi, but he did it so tragically. So Mohina Dojin knew that Mo Yushi was Jing Ting's daughter. Force? Looking at how Mohina Dojin was kneeling in front of Jing Ting, it was clear that Mohina Dojin did not dare. Wan, Jing Ting called out softly. Here. Shangguanwan said respectfully. You deal with the rest. I'm going back. Jing Ting said calmly. Yes. Shangguanwan said respectfully. Farewell, Sacred Lord. Everyone said respectfully. Jing Ting stepped forward and suddenly disappeared. He left the Wu clan's main hall. As soon as Jing Ming left, everyone's expression relaxed. They then gathered around Mo Yushi. Congratulations, Tao Monarch Yushi. Congratulations, Tao Monarch Yushi, for reuniting with your mother. Tao Monarch Yushi, I have offended you in the past. Please forgive me. Tao Monarch Yushi, I have already found the green spot iron ore you asked me to pay attention to. Don't worry, I will mobilize all my disciples to help Tao Monarch Yushi mine it all. After refining it, I will send the impurities to your residence. Who said that the strong were all arrogant? At this moment, a group of strong people who did not care about Mo Yushi in the past squeezed in front of Mo Yushi, revealing smiles warmer than spring. Perhaps the identity of a Tao monarch would not make them act like this, but the daughter of a sacred lord was different. Behind the crowd, Shangguanwan sighed slightly and revealed a gratified smile. Chapter 841. Tao Monarch Yushi, the daughter of the Holy Master. Soon, the news spread like wildfire. The entire Dazhao sacred ground was in an uproar. Fear, regret, joy, all kinds of emotions exploded in the Dazhao sacred ground. Jing Ming's daughter, what kind of concept was this? The daughter of the number one person in the world, the number one princess in the world. At this moment, who dared to look down on her? Who dared to have any ideas about her? But countless cultivators did not understand why Jing Ming only acknowledged this daughter today. Jing Ting didn't say much, but the word daughter was enough to explain everything. This was because the word daughter meant that Jing Ting would protect her. Mo Yushi did not know how she returned to her palace. After the murder in northern Mo Hall, Mo Yushi did not stay there. Instead, she went to her father's residence. It was close to the Dazhao mountain, close to the dojos of Maori and Yu Yu. This was originally Mo Yushi's father's property. But after Mo Yushi's father died, some true monarchs seized it. But at this moment, these true monarchs obediently gave up this place. Who would dare to fight with Mo Yushi? Looking at the dark phoenix hall in front of her, Mo Yushi recalled too many childhood memories. But Jing Ming was her mother. This information was like a bone in her throat, making Mo Yushi's expression extremely complicated. Why? Back then, when her father died, her mother was indifferent. Was the Holy Master really her mother? Why did she not care about her for so many years, allowing her to be bullied? Mo Yushi locked herself in the dark phoenix hall alone. Even Yan Chuan was rejected outside. Yan Chuan smiled faintly, not taking it to heart. At this moment, the most excited were Qing Long and the others. They were all arranged by Mo Yushi's father to be loyal to the young master. They had suffered many cold eyes over the years. However, at this moment, he suddenly discovered that his young master had such an explosive identity. Azure Dragon immediately felt proud and elated. Is it true, Hades Emperor? Qing Long was still somewhat excited. Is it true? This dark phoenix mountain used to be Yushi's father's training ground? Yan Chuan asked. Yes, we used to live here too. Qing Long nodded excitedly. Help me find a private room. I have something to say to Mr. Monroe. Yan Chuan said. Okay, no problem. Qing Long immediately responded. All the perfected cultivators who had occupied Minghuang Mountain had left. Mo Yushi was in a bad mood. At this moment, Azure Dragon, as the first attendant, naturally had the right to arrange things here. Moreover, it was Yan Chuan. Hades, is there really something important that you want to talk to me about? You must know that the Dazhao Holy Ground has undergone a great change this time. My great Zhou city will definitely not be peaceful at this moment. Mr. Monroe laughed. Let's go, Mr. Monroe. It's an urgent matter. I should have told you when I arrived at the Dazhao Holy Ground yesterday. Unfortunately, we encountered the matter of Yu Shi. Yan Chuan said with a serious expression. Seeing Yan Chuan's serious expression, Mr. Monroe knew that the matter was not simple. His expression immediately became serious. Under Qing Long's guidance, the two of them arrived at a large hall. The door of the hall slammed shut and no one was allowed to disturb them. Hades Emperor, what's the matter? Speak. Mr. Monroe said solemnly. With Yan Chuan's current status, it was not difficult to find a storage magic treasure. Yan Chuan flipped his hand and a huge coffin suddenly appeared from his sleeve. A coffin? Mr. Monroe's face darkened. Mr. Monroe did not know who was in the coffin, but it was definitely a dead person. Who was it? Chapter 842. Yan Chuan gestured for Mr. Monroe to do it himself. With a hint of curiosity, Mr. Wenruo gently pushed the coffin lid open. Whoosh! When the lid was lifted, a corpse was revealed. Mr. Monroe trembled as he stared at the coffin in horror. Dad? Father? Mr. Monroe burst into tears. The person lying in the coffin was none other than the former headmaster of the Jiulu Academy, Meng Ziqiu. In the southern Divine Continent, Li Songhai had led a group of geomancers to kill him in front of Yan Chuan in order to find out the whereabouts of Li Kanglan, the geomancer. In the end, he had sacrificed his life in exchange for Li Kanglan's whereabouts. Dad! Mr. Monroe cried. Then, Mr. Wenruo's face turned cold. His handsome face twisted into a ferocious expression. He turned to Yan Chuan and said, Hades Emperor, who is it? Who killed my dad? With a sigh, Yan Chuan told Mr. Monroe about what had happened in the southern Divine Continent. He didn't hold back at all. Wenruo is a child with a hard life. Tell him for me, father has let him down. Dad was sorry. However, at the end of Yan Chuan's story, Meng Ziqiu's last sentence was sorry. When Ruo was already sobbing. Li Canghai, if I don't kill you, may the heavens and the earth destroy you. Mr. Monroe roared. Seeing Mr. Monroe's grief, Yan Chuan sighed and didn't say anything more. He walked out of the hall alone, leaving Mr. Monroe alone to vent his sorrow. Hades Emperor. Qing Long walked over. Don't disturb Mr. Monroe. Yan Chuan said. Okay. Qing Long nodded. Where is Jin Dayu? Yan Chuan asked in confusion. Master Jin. Oh, he wanted me to pass a message to you. I almost forgot. Azure Dragon slapped his head and said. Oh. He said that he sensed the extreme Yang Fire Essence Stone and went to investigate. Qing Long said. Sun Fire Essence Stone. Yan Chuan's expression changed. He suddenly remembered that Jin Dayu had never had a suitable talisman. He had always been very concerned about the talismans of his ancestors. Sun Fire Essence Stone. Refining the Gate of Heaven. I got it. Yan Chuan nodded. Yan Chuan had already brought the letter back and had Lu Gang search around the East Factory. Since Jin Dayu had found it himself, it couldn't be any better. Big brother, Hades Emperor, Miss Shengguan is here. Bai Long immediately ran over. Oh. Yan Chuan's expression changed as he quickened his pace and rushed to Dark Phoenix Hall. The doors of Dark Phoenix Hall were open, and Shengguan Wan was facing Mo Yushi. Miss Shengguan, is the Holy Lord really my mother? Is that true? Mo Yushi asked with tears in her eyes. How can this be false? Girl, don't think too much. Since the Holy Lord has recognized you, no one in this world will dare to bully you anymore. Shengguan Wan smiled. But Mo Yushi was even more sad. Yan Chuan walked into the hall, but Mo Yushi didn't seem to care. Shengguan Wan looked at Yan Chuan and didn't say anything. Then why didn't you ask about me all these years? Also, when my father died, why didn't the Holy Lord care? Why? If my mother took care of it, my father wouldn't have died. Why? Mo Yushi cried. Shengguan Wan frowned and didn't want to say. Miss Shengguan, please tell me, okay? Mo Yushi stepped forward and held Shengguan Wan's hand, pleading. You may be even more sad if you know. It's better if you don't know. Shengguan Wan advised. Chapter 843. No, I must know. Miss Shengguan, if you don't tell me, I'll ask my mother. Let's see what she has to say. Mo Yushi said firmly. Sigh, all right. I hope you won't regret it. Shengguan Wan nodded. Tell me. Mo Yushi bit her lips and steeled herself. If you want to blame someone for your father's death, you can only blame him for being too greedy. He couldn't blame anyone else. Because he was too greedy, the Holy Lord didn't care about him at all. She even left him to his own devices. Shengguan Wan sighed. Ah. What? Mo Yushi was stunned. Your father was too greedy. He wanted to enter the Dazhao holy ground and announce to the world that he was the Holy Lord's husband. That was why he angered the Holy Lord. Shengguan Wan recalled. Ah. My father wasn't my mother's husband. How is that possible? Mo Yushi was shocked. Husband? The Holy Lord used to have a husband, but her husband is already dead. Shengguan Wan said. What? How come I didn't know? Who was the Holy Lord's husband? Mo Yushi was shocked. It's okay to tell you. The Holy Lord's husband was called Li Ji. He was the former ruler of the Tang Empire. Shengguan Wan said. Tang Empire? Mo Yushi tried to recall, but she couldn't remember the name. However, Mo Yushi didn't dwell on it. Instead, she asked, then what was my father? How did my mother give birth to me? Your father. He was just the Holy Lord's gigolo. Shangguanwan said. Gigolo? Mo Yushi was stunned. Even Yan Chuan was shocked. Gigolo? Mo Yushi's father was Jingming's gigolo. Gigolo? How is that possible? How could my father be mother's gigolo? Mo Yushi was shocked. Now do you know why the Holy Lord doesn't like you? Although you are the daughter of the sacred leader, compared to the other children of the sacred leader, your identity determines everything. Fortunately, you don't have to worry. After all, you are the sacred leader's child. Even if he doesn't like you, you are still a piece of flesh that fell from the sacred leader's body. The sacred leader has already accepted you. Shangguanwan comforted him. Gigolo? Ha, so I'm the Holy Master's lover. Mo Yushi's heart turned cold, her face bitter, boundless bitterness shrouding her heart. Only I, Maori, and you know about this matter. No one else knows about the Saint Lord's private matters. Girl, I watched you grow up. Although the Saint Lord doesn't like you, as long as you are the Saint Lord's daughter, I won't look at you differently. I came here today to comfort you, and also to let you know your position. Now that you know your identity, I won't say anything more. You are a smart girl, you know what to do and what not to do. Don't be discouraged. As the sacred leader's daughter, it is your fortune. Shangguanwan comforted her. Mo Yushi sobbed alone. Originally, she wanted to denounce Shangguanwan, but now, Mo Yushi's heart was in a mess. Yan Chuan, comfort Yushi. Shangguanwan said to Yan Chuan. I will. However, Miss Shangguan, I heard you say that the sacred leader has other children? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Shangguanwan frowned and shook her head, saying, Yan Chuan, it's better if you don't know. Take good care of Yushi. Yan Chuan nodded. Looking at the sad Mo Yushi, Shangguanwan sighed softly. She turned and walked out of the hall. Chapter 844. Everyone envied Mo Yushi in the Dazhao Holy Land. Gigolo. Mo Yushi found it hard to accept the truth. However, based on Shangguanwan's behavior and Jing Ming's attitude, Mo Yushi was almost certain that it was true. Her father, who loved her so much when she was young, was actually her mother's gigolo. Mo Yushi still could not accept it even after Yan Chuan comforted her. After more than 2 hours, Mo Yushi felt better. I'm fine now. Mo Yushi wiped her tears and said. It's all in the past. Yan Chuan nodded. But why did Shangguanwan say it in front of you? It's not a glorious thing for my parents. Will you look down on me? Mo Yushi said worriedly. You are you, and they are them. In my heart, you will always be Mo Yushi. Maybe she said it in front of me so that I can enlighten you. Yan Chuan said softly. Okay. Mo Yushi's mood improved a lot. At least there was someone in front of her who understood her and cherished her. Mr. Monroe is still here. Yan Chuan said. Monroe? He hasn't left yet. Mo Yushi was puzzled. Meng Ziqiu is dead. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Ah. Yan Chuan recounted the events of the past to him. Mo Yushi sighed. Mr. Monroe is also unlucky. Sigh. Mo Yushi sighed. Oh. You know about Mr. Monroe? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Yes, Mr. Monroe is also infatuated. Mo Yushi sighed. What happened? You know, Mr. Monroe used to be the eldest son of the Julu Academy. Thoughts move the heavens, high-spirited and vigorous. Mo Yushi explained. I know that there are hundreds of cities in the Dazhao Holy Land. Disciples of the Dazhao Holy Land are stationed in these hundreds of cities. As an outsider, not only did Mr. Monroe gain a foothold in a city, but he also used sufficient means to become the city lord of Dazhao City. This is the territory of the Dazhao Holy Land. Not to mention outsiders, even the disciples of the sect need to suppress all the heroes before they can become the city lord. However, when Ruo used his identity as an outsider to squeeze out all the disciples of the Dazhao Holy Land. This means that his means cannot be underestimated. This is also the reason why I value him so much. Yan Chuan nodded. Meng Ziqiu took in a female disciple called Su Sanyang. Su Sanyang was the same age as Mr. Monroe. The two of them could be said to be childhood sweethearts. Mr. Monroe was also deeply in love with Su Sanyang. At that time, Mr. Monroe was in high spirits. His academics, status, and relationships were all at the peak. Many people even said that the Jiulu Academy would definitely be passed down to Mr. Monroe in the future, Mo Yushi recalled. Oh. This Su Sanyang came to the Dazhao Holy Land? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Yes, you don't know. At that time, Su Sanyang and Mr. Monroe had already bowed to heaven and earth. On the day of the wedding, there was a sudden change. Mo Yushi smiled bitterly. A sudden change? That day, Taoist Lord Yu Yu represented the Dazhao Holy Land and went to congratulate them. At first, it was nothing. However, when Taoist Lord Yu Yu saw Su Sanyang, his entire person changed. He even caused a scene at the wedding and kidnapped Su Sanyang. Mo Yushi recalled. Taoist Lord Yu Yu kidnapped Su Sanyang. Kidnapped her in the Jiulu Academy. Yan Chuan was surprised. Mo Yushi smiled bitterly and nodded. Indeed. Do you know who Su Sanyang is? She has another identity. Chapter 845. Su Sanyang was Tao Lord Yu Yu's wife in her previous life. At that time, Tao Lord Yu Yu was still immortal. Unfortunately, she died in an accident. Tao Lord Yu Yu suddenly met his wife and naturally did something extreme. At that time, Meng Ziqiu brought a group of Jiulu Academy virtuous paragons to the Great Zhao Holy Ground to ask for an explanation. However, Tao Lord Yu Yu had already asked the Holy Master, who was my mother, to awaken Su Sanyang's memories. Su Sanyang remembered everything from her previous life. Mo Yushi said. Ah. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. This relationship was indeed complicated. Although Su Sanyang and Mr. Monroe were childhood sweethearts, the wedding was not completed. However, Su Sanyang and Tao Lord Yu Yu were husband and wife, so Su Sanyang naturally followed Tao Lord Yu Yu. At that time, Su Sanyang knelt in front of Meng Ziqiu and told him the truth. Meng Ziqiu was also helpless. Moreover, Tao Lord Yu Yu also asked my mother to grant them a marriage. Mo Yushi recalled. Grant them a marriage? Yes, my mother granted them a marriage. The situation was set. There was no turning back. Everyone in Jiulu Academy sighed. After all, Su Sanyang and Tao Lord Yu Yu were husband and wife in their previous life. Only Mr. Monroe did not change his infatuation and refused to give up. Mo Yushi sighed. Mr. Monroe is the eldest son of Jiulu Academy. If he continues to pester, it means that the Jiulu Academy will not give up. Therefore, Mr. Monroe took the initiative to cut ties with the Jiulu Academy. Outsiders said that Mr. Monroe was expelled from the sect. Yan Chuan's expression changed slightly. Yes. Mr. Monroe stayed here so that he could see Su Sanyang from time to time. Although Su Sanyang knew that when Ruo was infatuated, she could only watch and sigh. She tried several times to persuade Wen Ruo to forget her, but Mr. Monroe did not change his infatuation. Mo Yushi shook her head. What a pity, what a pity. Yan Chuan nodded. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi slowly walked out of Dark Phoenix Hall. Outside the Dark Phoenix Hall, Qing Long stepped forward and said, Tao Lord, Hades Emperor, Mr. Monroe has left. Left? Yan Chuan asked doubtfully. Yeah, I saw him walking away in a daze. I called out to him, but he didn't answer. He seemed to have suffered a big blow. Qing Long recalled. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi looked at each other. Forget it, let him calm down. Don't disturb him for the time being. Yan Chuan said. Mo Yushi nodded. At this moment, a streak of fiery light suddenly rushed over. Boom! Like a fireball, it smashed into the square of Dark Phoenix Hall. The blazing fire was burning a figure inside. Wow! With the caw of a crow, the majestic fire was suddenly sucked into the figure's mouth. Using Sun True Fire to burn me? Ha! I grew up eating Sun True Fire. The fire was swallowed, revealing Jin Dayu's figure. Jin Dayu? What's going on with you? Who burned you? Yan Chuan asked in a low voice. Your Majesty, this subject has found Sun True Fire stone, and a lot of it. It's the size of a mountain. It's more than enough. Jin Dayu excitedly said. Oh. To the east of the Dajiao sacred ground, there's an area paved with gold. There's a mountain of Sun True Fire stone there. There's too much of it. Jin Dayu excitedly said. Sun True Fire Mountain. Mo Yushi's expression changed. You know of it? Yan Chuan curiously asked. Yes, my mother bestowed it to Mohina Dojin. Mohina Dojin used to cultivate there, so he has a deep understanding of the Tao of Fire. Mo Yushi solemnly said. Mohina Dojin's things? Yan Chuan raised an eyebrow. Your Majesty, this subject couldn't hold back at the time and was about to take it. Unexpectedly, Mohina Dojin sensed it. Mohina Dojin sent a palm strike at me. It was the Sun True Fire. Jin Dayu explained. Chapter 846. This is the Great Zhao Holy Land. Don't do things without thinking of the consequences. Yan Chuan reprimanded. Yes, I know my mistake. However, I was muddle-headed and did not consider the consequences. Please punish me, Your Majesty. Jin Dayu immediately said sincerely. Forget it. Be more careful in the future. Yan Chuan said. Yes. Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan. Naturally, she could see that Yan Chuan valued Jin Dayu highly. He could not bear to punish him. Whoosh! Just as everyone was talking, a figure suddenly descended from the sky. A powerful aura came straight at Jin Dayu. Jin Dayu's expression changed and he immediately turned around. However, Yan Chuan was one step faster and pulled Jin Dayu behind him. The person who came was dressed in a yellow robe. He stared at Jin Dayu with anger. It was Mohina Dojin. Scoundrel, come out! Mohina Dojin shouted. Jin Dayu glared but was blocked by Yan Chuan. He did not let him come out. Mohina Dojin, how have you been? Why have you come to my Dark Phoenix Hall this time? Mo Yushi took a step forward. Mohina Dojin raised his eyebrows and took a deep breath. He turned to Mo Yushi and said, Greetings, Dao Monarch Yushi. Dao Monarch Yushi, are these people your men? Mohina Dojin asked. Mo Yushi did not answer. Instead, she sneered and said, Mohina Dojin, how did you deal with the Northern Mo Hall murder case? I remember that you personally promised my mother in the Wu clan's main hall that you would compensate them one by one. Mohina Dojin raised his eyebrows and took a deep breath. Dao Monarch Yushi, I will naturally give an explanation to the sect masters. The person who killed everyone was my fifth son. I have already destroyed his soul in front of everyone. In front of everyone? You destroyed your fifth son? Mo Yushi said in surprise. Mohina Dojin, how ruthless. Mo Yushi frowned as she watched. That was her own son. Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows. Clearly, he did not expect Mohina Dojin to be so ruthless to his own flesh and blood. It could be seen how cold the ancient moon saint child's heart was now. What about Yang Zigu? Is Yang Zigu, the mastermind behind the Northern Mo Hall murder case, dead? Mo Yushi took a step forward and said in a low voice. Mohina Dojin's pupils shrank. Dao Monarch Yushi, one of my sons has already died. Don't go too far. I'm going too far. Then who was the one who bullied me? Isn't it going too far to frame me as the murderer? As the great bright sacred Dao monarch and the daughter of the Holy Master, how can I be bullied like this? Yang Zigu only has himself to blame. He must die. Mo Yushi took another step forward. Mohina Dojin's expression changed. Mohina Dojin, you promised in front of my mother. I don't care how you compensate the other 5 sect masters, but I, as the biggest victim, must pay with my life. Otherwise, I will turn this matter upside down. Do you believe that I have the ability to do so now? Mo Yushi said in a low voice. Mohina Dojin took a step back. His expression was terrifyingly dark. He stared at Mo Yushi but could not refute her. Dao Monarch Yushi, there is no need to be so ruthless. As long as you let my son go, I will do whatever you say. Mohina Dojin took a deep breath and said in a low voice. If Jingting did not acknowledge Mo Yushi, Mohina Dojin would still dare to be unreasonable. However, Jingting had already acknowledged her daughter. Even if he had the guts to do so, he would not dare to do so. Alright, Yang Zigu can live. However, you must give me all of Mount Sunday, treat it as redeeming Yang Zigu's life. Mo Yushi said indifferently. Chapter 847. Fine, Yang Zigu can live, but you have to give me the entirety of Mount Sunday, treat it as redeeming Yang Zigu's life. Mo Yushi said calmly. Mount Sun. Mohina Dojin's eyes flashed with anger. This was Mohina Dojin's best treasure. Of course, on the surface, it was the strongest treasure. Dao Monarch Yushi, you have a big appetite. Mohina Dojin said unwillingly. If Mohina Dojin can't bear to part with Mount Sun, it's fine. Let Yang Zigu take responsibility for the murder of Northern Mo Hall. Mo Yushi said in a low voice. Mohina Dojin clenched his fists and stared at Mo Yushi. What? You want to silence him? Mo Yushi sneered. Mohina Dojin took a few deep breaths to suppress the anger in his heart. Fine, since Dao Monarch Yushi has spoken, how can I refuse? However, I won't give you Mount Sunday. If you have the ability, go get it yourself. Mohina Dojin said coldly. Mount Sun emits true sun fire all the time. I know that ordinary people don't dare to go near it. However, Mohina Dojin doesn't have to worry about how to get it. Mo Yushi said worriedly. Humph. Mohina Dojin snorted. Oh right, Mohina Dojin came here just now. May I know why? Mo Yushi asked again. Mohina Dojin's eyelids twitched as he looked at Jin Dayu. Jin Dayu offended Mount Sun. At this moment, Mohina Dojin couldn't say anything else. After all, Mount Sun was no longer his. With a flick of his sleeves, Mohina Dojin soared into the sky, ignoring the crowd. In the blink of an eye, Mohina Dojin disappeared. Yushi, you used Yang Zigu's life in exchange for Sun Mountain. Could it be? Yen Chuan frowned. Mo Yushi smiled and said, no, Yang Zigu is Mohina Dojin's lifeblood. Although I don't know why, but with my status, you should understand that I may not be able to kill Yang Zigu, but this Sun Mountain should be what you need. Yen Chuan's eyes flashed with a trace of gratitude. Jin Dayu. Yen Chuan shouted without turning his head. Present. Go. From this day on, Mount Sun belongs to you. Collect them early, so as to avoid unnecessary trouble. Yen Chuan said. Looking at Yen Chuan's back, Jin Dayu's face lit up with joy. Yes, thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you, Lord Dao Jun. Jin Dayu said excitedly. Then, Jin Dayu flew away and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Mohina Dojin left in a huff. He returned to his own hall. "Father, who made you angry just now?" Yang Zigu asked with a frown. Mohina Dojin looked at Yang Zigu without a trace of blame. Instead, he said, "Who else could it be? Mou Shi." Humph. Yang Zigu's expression changed and became gloomy. "Right, father, Yang Zigu. Boss took them away." Yang Zigu said. Guyu left with your 6 brothers?" Mohina Dojin said in a low voice. "Yes, Guyu is getting more and more out of hand. He is looking down on father more and more." Yang Zigu fanned the flames. Mohina Dojin replied coldly. Reporting. A cultivator rushed into the hall. Lord Daojun, a 3-legged golden crow, went to Mount Sunday. "We couldn't stop it," the cultivator said anxiously. "So fast? You sent someone to take it?" Mohina Dojin's face darkened. "Lord Daojun, do you want to gather your disciples?" the cultivator asked. "No need. Let him take it," Mohina Dojin said in a low voice. "Ha, a strange bird wants to steal Mount Sun. As long as it touches it, it will be burned to ashes," Yang Zigu said disdainfully. Chapter 848. That Xiuzhe left in a daze. About an hour later, the practitioner broke into the main hall again. "Dao Daolord, this is bad. That 3-legged golden crow devoured Mount Sun," the cultivator said in shock. Mohina Dojin's eyelids twitched, but he suppressed the anger in his heart. "Swallow? Are you joking? The extreme yang flame essence within the extreme yang mountain can kill anyone who touches it." "Who would dare swallow it?" exclaimed Yang Zigu. "It's true, young master," the cultivator shouted. Yang Zhijiu opened his mouth in shock. "All of you go out, I need some peace and quiet," Mohina Dojin said in a deep voice. "Yes." The 2 of them replied. Outside Dark Phoenix Hall. "Your Majesty, I will definitely refine the gate of the Heaven Realm as soon as possible. I won't let you down," Jin Dayu said excitedly. Pick a large hall and refine it first. When it's time to leave, this emperor will call you," Yan Chuan said. Yes. In the blink of an eye, Yan Chuan had already been in the Great Zhao Holy Land for a month. As the sky gradually darkened, Yan Chuan and Mou Shi stood on a huge balcony outside Dark Phoenix Hall, looking at the countless lights of the Great Zhou City in front of them. Bam! 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 One spell after another shot into the sky from the Great Zhou City. It was like fireworks in the mortal world, blooming beautifully in the sky. Mou Shi held Yan Chuan's hand and looked at the countless beautiful scenes of magic in front of them. In the mortal realm, today is the new year. Even though many people have embarked on the path of cultivation, they still don't forget this traditional festival. This is also the reason why the Great Zhou City's annual scene of magic soaring into the sky. Because only by remembering these traditions can I feel that I am still a human. Yan Chuan smiled. The 2 of them held hands and enjoyed the beautiful scenery. There was no further movement, but in this situation, their hearts were tightly intertwined. This was also a kind of beauty. Bam! 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 Spells soared into the sky one after another. The Great Zhou City today was destined to be a city that never slept. However, over the years, perhaps because of Mr. Monroe's encouragement, more and more people are participating in this kind of activity on New Year's Day. The new year in Great Zhou City is becoming more and more beautiful. Mou Shi said. Oh. I was wondering why my carefree city didn't seem to be so dense. So it was Mr. Monroe who purposely developed it. Yan Chuan said thoughtfully. Look, over there. Mou Shi suddenly tugged at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan followed Mou Shi's gaze. It was a woman in red standing on a protruding balcony on the mountain peak of Dao Lord Yuyu's Dao field. Her clothes fluttered in the wind as she watched with an intoxicated gaze. She is? Yan Chuan's expression changed. She is Su Sanyang. Mo she sighed. Su Sanyang. Yan Chuan was lost in thought as he looked down the mountain. Yan Chuan searched the area below the mountain. It was pitch black, but under Yan Chuan's careful observation, he was able to see clearly. In a small forest. Yan Chuan finally saw his guess. It was Mr. Monroe. At this moment, Mr. Monroe was hiding in a small forest. He looked at the mountain peak and Su Sanyang affectionately. Seeing Su Sanyang smile, Mr. Monroe also smiled. Mo Yushi saw Yan Chuan looking down and also looked over. Mr. Monroe? Mo Yushi said in surprise. Mr. Monroe did so much for the annual fireworks festival. So it's just to make a beauty smile. Yan Chuan sighed. Chapter 849. Yes, but it's a pity that Su Sanyang and Lord Yu were husband and wife in their previous life. Mr. Monroe can only think too highly of himself. Mo Yushi shook her head. As he spoke, Mr. Monroe frowned, and a trace of bitterness appeared on his face. Yan Chuan turned his head and saw Lord Yu suddenly appear beside Su Sanyang. Lord Yu grabbed a cloak and put it on Su Sanyang. Su Sanyang turned her head and looked at Lord Yu affectionately. The two of them looked at the magical fireworks in the city in the distance. It was a very sweet scene. At the foot of the mountain, Mr. Monroe looked more and more desolate in the forest. Mr. Monroe and Su Sanyang were childhood sweethearts, but in the end, they were husband and wife for a lifetime. Mo Yushi sighed slightly. A lifetime? Yan Chuan was thoughtful. Yes, they have witnessed so many unforgettable things in their lives. Although she and Mr. Monroe were childhood sweethearts, what they experienced was only a kind of hazy love. How can a hazy love compare to a lifetime of unforgettable things? Mo Yushi shook her head and said regretfully. Yan Chuan's expression changed, and he looked at Mr. Monroe at the foot of the mountain. Qing Long. Yan Chuan called out to Qing Long in the distance. Yes? Qing Long flew quickly from the distance. Go down later and invite Mr. Monroe to the Dark Phoenix Hall. I have something to tell him. Yan Chuan said. Yes. Qing Long nodded. What's wrong? Mo Yushi was puzzled. Maybe, I have a way to make Mr. Monroe make up for this regret. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Ah. You won't let Mr. Monroe force her, right? Mr. Monroe won't do that. He won't force Su Sanyang. Mo Yushi said in surprise. I'm not using force, but I have a secret technique. Yan Chuan said with a frown. Secret technique? Well, I don't know if this secret technique will work. I don't even know if it's real. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. What secret technique? Mo Yushi asked curiously. Dream of heaven's secrets. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Dream of heaven's secrets? Mo Yushi didn't understand. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. Dream of heaven's secret? Yan Chuan really didn't know how to explain it. This was something he had dreamt of in his previous life. It was a very complicated reason, but that was the truth. In his previous life, there was another secret technique that he had dreamt of. It was the stellar cycle technique that Yan Chuan had used a few times. This was also something that he had dreamt of. However, in his dream, it was not called the stellar cycle technique. Instead, it was another mysterious technique called the universe in the palm. In the palm, there were billions of stars in the universe. Unfortunately, the universe in the palm was something that even Yan Chuan couldn't use with his previous life's cultivation. Yan Chuan guessed that it was because his cultivation wasn't high enough, so he modified it and created the stellar cycle technique. Even though it was weakened countless times, it was still one of Yan Chuan's strongest techniques. Dream of Heaven's Secrets was one of the 2 secret techniques in his dream. Yan Chuan had never used it before. Even though it didn't have a high cultivation requirement, the consequences were too unimaginable. So Yan Chuan had never used it. Now that he saw Wenruo like this, Yan Chuan didn't know why he had the idea to test it out. Dream of Heaven's Secrets. Universe in the palm. Did he dream of it? Yan Chuan naturally wouldn't be so shallow. Yan Chuan guessed that perhaps, other than his previous life, there was another existence from his previous life. But that was too far in the future. Now, he mainly wanted to test if the secret technique in his dream was correct. If it really worked, Yan Chuan even wanted to spread it throughout the entire Great Zhen. Borrowing the power of Great Zhen. Chapter 850. Dark Phoenix Hall. The door of the hall was tightly shut. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi stared at Meng Wenruo. Mr. Monroe, I've already told you the method. Now it's up to you whether you want to accept it or not. If you don't, just pretend that I didn't say anything. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Mr. Monroe's face was distorted. He was struggling in his heart. Mo Yushi thought for a while and said, Mr. Monroe, I think that you don't have to feel guilty at all. You and Su Sanyang were already married. It was Dao Lord Yu who stole your bride. You are the victim. Mr. Monroe hesitated for a while. Of course, you can say that you don't want to interfere with Su Sanyang's thoughts, but Dao Lord Yu did. Is it because of her previous life? If so, who should Su Sanyang be with if she has more memories of her previous life? Mo Yushi said with a smile. Mr. Monroe's eyes narrowed. Su Sanyang died in her previous life. In this life, Dao Lord Yu asked my mother to enlighten her and forced a relationship from her previous life. This caused Su Sanyang's feelings to be more with Dao Lord Yu. If it weren't for Yan Chuan's method, you would never have the chance to hold Su Sanyang's hand again. Think about it yourself. Mo Yushi said. Yan Chuan stopped her and told Mo Yushi not to say anything. He wanted Wenruo to make the decision herself. Mr. Monroe held his head and felt troubled. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi waited quietly. Finally, after an incense stick's time, Wenruo looked at Yan Chuan again with red eyes. Hades Emperor, please use the poison. Wenruo said seriously. Mr. Monroe, I'll say it again. I don't want this poison to be leaked. So, if you really want it, you must join the Dezhen dynasty. Yan Chuan said seriously. This commoner, Meng Wenruo, greets your majesty. Wenruo bowed respectfully. Wenruo had her own pride. If it was because of the dream, she might not necessarily compromise. The main reason was because Yan Chuan had loosened the reins several times in the past, when Wenruo was forced to betray Yan Chuan in the Julu Academy, and in the chess game at the Immortal City, Yan Chuan deliberately gave up on defeating Wenruo. Playing hard to get time and time again made Wenruo's arrogance unable to resist. Alright. If Mr. Monroe joins Dezhen, it'll be like gaining an arm. Yan Chuan smiled as he supported Mr. Monroe. Mr. Monroe stood up. Thank you, Your Majesty, for thinking so highly of me. I can see Mr. Monroe's talent clearly. Yan Chuan said with satisfaction. You flatter me, Your Majesty. You are still the city lord of Dezhou for the time being, so I won't give you another title. Now, let's talk about the dream. If you want to use it, you must find a burial cave called Heaven's Calamity. You need to find a feng shui master nearby and find the Heaven's Calamity burial cave as soon as possible. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Heaven's Calamity. Burial cave. Your Majesty, I know of a place. Meng Wenruo's eyes suddenly lit up. Oh. Outside the Dezhou holy ground, near the Lan Yu sect, there is a place where Yin Qi wreaks havoc. I once went to check it out. It's the heavens calamity. Everyone avoids it and no one dares to go near it. Meng Wenruo said solemnly. That's great. As for how to persuade Su Sanyang, that's your own business. I'll prepare some things for you during this period of time. You can set off in 10 days. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and said. Yes. 10 days later. In the dark Phoenix Hall, Yan Chuan held the brush, Dream Immortal, and kept drawing on a piece of black jade. As the brush fell, a yin wind blew in the hall. The rolling yin qi seemed to come out of nowhere and went straight into the black jade. Pang! When the last stroke fell, all the yin qi suddenly converged into the black jade, and the black jade suddenly became flat. Chapter 851. Mo Yushi walked into the hall. What's this? It's a black jade talisman. It's used to guard Wenruo's heart and soul. It allows her to dream and not forget her true self. Yan Chuan explained. Oh. Mo Yushi nodded. How's Wenruo doing? Yan Chuan asked. Mr. Monroe and Su Sanyang have already set off. Mo Yushi said. Oh. Meng Ziqiu is Su Sanyang's teacher. Mr. Monroe's excuse this time was to bring the spirit back to Jilu Academy. Su Sanyang is duty-bound. Dao Lord Yu is very confident. Everything is going smoothly. Mo Yushi explained. Okay, we'll leave in a few days. Yan Chuan nodded. Mo Yushi frowned and looked troubled. I'm afraid I can't go this time. Oh. Shangguan just asked me to learn from her for a while. Mo Yushi frowned. Okay, take care of yourself. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Okay, you'll take Qing Long and the others? Mo Yushi asked. No, they'll all stay here, just in case. Jin Dayu will be fine with me. Yan Chuan shook his head. 2 months later. In a mountain range surrounded by miasma and fog, the sky was dark. Many of the plants were extremely beautiful, but at the same time, they were extremely poisonous. The only creatures that could survive in this area were those extremely poisonous creatures. In the middle of this place surrounded by yin qi was a mountain. At the foot of the mountain was a cave. The soil and stones at the entrance were quite new. It was obviously a cave that had just been dug. The inside of the cave was extremely spacious. There was a huge bronze coffin lying flat on the ground. There were many runes carved on the bronze coffin. A woman lay in the coffin. It was Su Sanyang. Beside the bronze coffin was a flagpole with many runes drawn on it. Yan Chuan, Jin Dayu, and Wenruo all surrounded the bronze coffin. The heavenly tribulation meridian. What an ominous burial meridian. Just by standing here, I can feel that the earth beneath my feet is connected to the 9 serenities hell. Jin Dayu exclaimed. Your Majesty, is that all? Meng Wenruo asked curiously. Lie in the coffin with Su Sanyang. Don't resist my spell. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Mr. Monroe quickly entered the coffin and lay down beside Su Sanyang. He held her hand and looked slightly excited. Yan Chuan reached out and slapped the black jade talisman on Mr. Monroe's forehead. Pa! Mr. Monroe closed his eyes as if he had fallen asleep. Yan Chuan grabbed the black banner beside him. He waved it at the coffin. Who? Endless black qi rushed towards the bronze coffin. In the blink of an eye, the black coffin was shrouded in black gas. He grabbed the black banner and waved it again. Boom! There was a muffled sound in the coffin. Suddenly, 2 souls appeared. Su Sanyang's soul was in a daze, but Wenruo's soul was extremely awake. Meng Wenruo, I've told you before that you will possess mortals and live together with them. Su Sanyang will forget the past. You remember everything and live another life. Whether you succeed or not depends on you. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Yes. Meng Wenrua said respectfully. The black banner waved again. Boom. Meng Wenrua's soul suddenly split into 100. Su Sanyang's soul also split into 100. It was as if 100 copies were made in an instant. Time is limited, but 100 experiences are enough to make up for it. Each Meng Wenrua, hold one Su Sanyang. Yan Chuan shouted. Yes. Each Meng Wenrua quickly held one Su Sanyang. Seeing that everything was ready, Yan Chuan grabbed the black banner and waved it violently. Great Soul, go! Yan Chuan shouted. Boom! The 100 copies of Meng Wenrua's soul pulled Su Sanyang's soul. With a swing of the black banner, they shot out in all directions. In an instant, the 100 copies of souls disappeared. Bam! Yan Chuan inserted the black banner next to the bronze coffin again. Let's go out. We will guard Meng Wenrua for a few years. Yan Chuan said to Jin Dayu. Yes, yes. Jin Dayu was still in shock. The two walked out of the cave. They closed the door that they had set up earlier. Boom. The door closed. The two stood at the foot of the mountain. Your Majesty. 100 copies of Mr. Monroe's soul. How did he do it? Also, they can successfully possess mortals when they go out like this. Jin Dayu said in disbelief. They only possess mortals. As for 100 copies of soul. How much do you know about the secrets of the soul? Yan Chuan said with a smile. Jin Dayu shook slightly. Yes, he didn't know about it, but it didn't mean it didn't exist. Let's open up 2 more cave residences here. Let's stay here first. Yan Chuan said. Yes. Outside the Heaven's Calamity Acupoint, Yan Chuan was paying attention to Mr. Monroe's dream of entering Tianji. This was because if he succeeded, Yan Chuan would try it himself with the other officials. In the dream of heavenly secrets, one would not only experience one's life, but also experience endless experiences. Furthermore, the soul that was strengthened during the dream of heavenly secrets would not be reduced in the slightest after returning. A year passed in the blink of an eye. Although no one cultivated in the Heaven's Calamity Acupoint, it didn't mean that no one came. The poisonous creatures here were treasures that many cultivators liked. After quietly dispatching a dozen groups of people, the extraordinary nature of the Heaven's Calamity Acupoint was exposed. Yan Chuan used the environment of the Heaven's Calamity Acupoint to break through the bottleneck. His cultivation finally reached the first level of the lower void realm. Yan Chuan's Calamity Acupoint was always shocking. He opened his mouth and swallowed the Heaven's Calamity. There was the Lan Yu sect nearby. The Lan Yu sect was one of the vassal sects of the Dazhao Holy Land. In a hall of the Lan Yu sect. Master, I saw the 9 heavenly calamities just now. A red-robed cultivator rushed into the hall in panic. An elder in the hall frowned. What's wrong with the 9 heavenly calamities? It's in the Heaven's Calamity Mountain Range. The 9 heavenly calamities just came out and were sucked away by the Heaven's Calamity Mountain Range, the red-robed cultivator shouted. Nonsense, how is that possible? The elder said in a low voice. It's true, Master. I wasn't the only one who saw it. A few of my senior brothers saw it too. How can I not recognize the 9 heavenly calamities? I had Master's help back then. However, the 9 heavenly calamities were suddenly sucked into the ground for some reason. This. Master, what's going on? The red-robed cultivator asked in confusion. Heaven's Calamity Mountain Range? Is there a treasure inside? The elder's expression changed. Yes, a treasure. A treasure that can even absorb the Heaven's Calamity. Could it be an immortal weapon? The red-robed cultivator's eyes lit up. Immortal weapon. There's an immortal weapon in the Heaven's Calamity Mountain range? The elder's face lit up with joy. Master. What do we do now? What do we do? Inform all your senior brothers and junior brothers. Master will enter the Heaven's Calamity Mountain range with all of you to investigate. A strong desire appeared in the elder's eyes. Chapter 852. Dazhao Holy Land. In a hall. Supreme Lan Yu frowned at the old man in front of him. Speak. Supreme Lan Yu frowned. The old man looked around. The hall was closed, and everyone had been asked to leave. Sect Master, there are immortal weapons in the Heaven Calamity Mountain range. The old man said solemnly. Immortal weapons? Supreme Lan Yu narrowed his eyes. Yes, more than 3 months ago, one of my disciples saw the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation being forcibly taken into the Heaven Calamity Mountain range. I took a dozen disciples and quietly sneaked into the Heaven Calamity Mountain range to investigate. The old man said solemnly. Did you find the immortal weapons? Supreme Lan Yu's eyes lit up. No, but my disciples were attacked one by one, and they didn't know where the attack came from. They fainted inexplicably. When they woke up the next day, they were already outside the Heaven Calamity Mountain range. The old man frowned. There are experts in the Heaven Calamity Mountain range? Supreme Lan Yu narrowed his eyes. Yes, and that expert didn't seem to want to be enemies with our sect. I was worried that the news would be leaked, so I immediately came to report to the sect master. The old man said solemnly. Well done. Supreme Lan Yu nodded. Yes, sect master. What should we do now? The old man was puzzled. Supreme Lan Yu narrowed his eyes and took a deep breath. Wait a moment, I'll go and ask Shengguan Wanner to leave, and I'll go back with you immediately. Yes. Dark Phoenix Hall. Mo Yushi hurried back with a worried face. Qing Long. Here. Supreme Lan Yu has gone back. The Lan Yu sect is near the Heaven Calamity Point. I'm worried that Yan Chuan's whereabouts have been discovered. I don't know if he can make it in time. Go immediately and tell him to take precautions. Also, tell him that he can use my name to do anything he wants. Mo Yushi said in a deep voice. Yes. Qing Long quickly flew away. Morning Sun Hall. Mohina Dojin's face was gloomy. Dad, what's wrong? Yang Zigu asked curiously. The Holy Lord can remove the sky seal at any time. Perfected Lord Lan Yu actually wants to go back now. Something big must have happened in the Lan Yu sect. Mohina Dojin said in a low voice. Oh. By the way, Father, you asked me to send someone to keep an eye on him. This morning, Qing Long also left Great Zhou City. His whereabouts are unknown. Yang Zigu said. Qing Long left? I know that Yan Chuan must have gone to the Blue Transcendent sect. Something must have happened there. Also, my Sun Mountain is also in his hands. Mohina Dojin suddenly stood up. Ah. I gave him Sun to Mo Yushi, and Mo Yushi gave it to someone else. If I take it back from someone else, she won't have anything to say. Mohina Dojin's eyes turned cold. Then Dad is going to take back him Sun. Yang Zigu said in surprise. That's right. Mohina Dojin said with a cold gaze. Mohina Dojin took a step forward and was about to leave. Suddenly, a cultivator came from outside the hall. Mohina Dojin frowned. Greetings, Mohina Dojin. By Lady Shengguan's order, all Dao lords and sect masters are not allowed to leave the Great Zhao's sacred ground. The cultivator said respectfully. What? Mohina Dojin's face changed. The cultivator smiled and said, Lady Shengguan, I can see through your thoughts. Lady Shengguan has ordered that no one is allowed to leave. If you have any questions, you can go to the Wu Clan Hall to ask Lady Shengguan. Oh, okay, I understand. Mohina Dojin said with a gloomy face. Chapter 853. That cultivator smiled slightly and retreated. Father? What's going on? Yang Zigu said in surprise. Mohina Dojin smiled bitterly and said, Shengguan Wan, this woman's wisdom is outstanding. If we can analyze it, Shengguan Wan, can also analyze it. Perfected Lord Lan Yu left at this moment. Something big must have happened in the Lan Yu sect. Something big? If it was a disaster, perfected Lord Lan Yu would not return at all. Because after this battle, it doesn't matter whether the Lan Yu sect exists or not. However, perfected Lord Lan Yu returned. This means that what the Lan Yu sect is facing is not a disaster, but great benefits. Great benefits? A few vassal sect leaders, who knows what great benefits are? But they all have guesses. However, the fact that Azure Dragon was there meant that Yan Chuan was there as well. Shengguan Wan, did not allow anyone to interfere. Is she preparing to sit and watch the tigers fight? To watch the fight between Yan Chuan and perfected Lord Lan Yu? Mohina Dojin frowned. Then what should we do? Shengguan Wan has spoken. Who dares to go? Mohina Dojin smiled bitterly. Heaven Calamity Mountain Range. Outside the Heaven Calamity Point. Yan Chuan sat on a stone bench. A vine emerged from the ground and stretched into Yan Chuan's hand. Vine Demon of a Peerless Divine Weapon. Vine Demon, outside the Heaven Calamity Point is poisonous miasma. It is a good place for you to nourish. In the previous life, you did not fully evolve. In this life, I want to see what kind of treasure is worthy of being called a peerless divine weapon. Yan Chuan sighed. Rumble. On the ground, there were countless vines rapidly interweaving in all directions. They roamed the endless mountains and forests in all directions. Putting down the vine in his hand, Yan Chuan looked up at the sky. Huff. 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 One figure after another flew into the air. At the same time, each of them stared down, staring at Yan Chuan. They came so quickly. Yan Chuan's face sank. He turned to look in all directions. There were more and more cultivators in the sky. In the blink of an eye, there were close to 10,000 cultivators. In fact, the number of cultivators was still increasing. They gradually surrounded Yan Chuan from all directions. Yan Chuan's gaze gradually turned towards the leader of the group. He was dressed in a blue robe and stood high above. He coldly looked down at Yan Chuan. True Monarch Lan Yu? Yan Chuan asked in a low voice. True Lord Lan Yu sneered slightly and said, So, it's Yan Chuan. True Monarch Lan Yu, why have you come? Yan Chuan asked in a deep voice. This is what I wanted to ask you. Yan Chuan, where is the immortal item? Lan Yu True Monarch asked directly. Immortal item? Yan Chuan gaped in shock. A man beside Supreme Lan Yu suddenly shouted, Yan Chuan, stop pretending. I saw it that day. An immortal tool that can devour heavenly tribulation is in the Heavenly Tribulation Mountain Range. Devour heavenly tribulation. Yan Chuan immediately understood and revealed a trace of a bitter smile. It seemed that it was his own tribulation that was exposed. However, the heavenly tribulation suddenly arrived at that time. He had no choice but to pass it as soon as possible. True Monarch Lan Yu is wise. Yan Chuan did not see the so-called immortal item. Otherwise, he would have left with the immortal item long ago. Why would he stay here? Yan Chuan said with a smile. Then let me search you. Supreme Lan Yu said in a low voice. Search? Yan Chuan's face turned cold. Supreme Lan Yu, you should know that I don't want to be enemies with your Lan Yu sect. That's why I didn't kill your disciples when they barged in. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. I know. Supreme Lan Yu said indifferently. I don't want to be enemies with the Lan Yu sect, but it doesn't mean that I don't dare to be enemies with the Lan Yu sect. Supreme Lan Yu, please conduct yourself with dignity. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Ha 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 ha. Supreme Lan Yu laughed heartily. With just you. If Dao Monarch Yu Shi said it to me, that's more like it. You, a first-level lower void stage, want to be enemies with me? Injuring my disciples was a sneak attack. Now that I've found you, how are you going to sneak attack me? Supreme Lan Yu sneered. You can try. Yan Chuan said with a cold face. Master, you don't have to do anything. I can capture him. A red-clothed old man suddenly shouted. Supreme Lan Yu nodded. Yan Chuan did shine in the Wu clan's main hall. However, in the eyes of Supreme Lan Yu, his martial strength was not worth mentioning at all. She was even too lazy to make a move. At the same time, in the Great Zhao Holy Ground, Shangguan Wan'er, Mohina Dojin, Dao Monarch Yu Yu, Mo Yu Shi, and 4 vassal sect leaders were surrounding a pool. In the pool, there were some images. The images in the images were the scene of Supreme Lan Yu facing Yan Chuan. Miss Shangguan, what's going on? Mo Yu Shi immediately frowned and said. This is my Dazhao Holy Land's astronomical phenomenon pool. As long as the Dazhao Holy Land's merit-covered area, you can watch from this pool. Lan Yu sect is a part of my Dazhao Holy Land after all. Naturally, you can see it clearly. Shangguan Wan'er said indifferently. Why? Miss Shangguan, a month ago, you stopped everyone from going. Did you know that Yan Chuan was there? Mo Yu Shi's expression changed. Everything in the Dazhao Holy Land's range can't escape the astronomical phenomenon pool. I saw Yan Chuan devouring the heavenly tribulation that day. Shangguan Wan'er nodded. Devouring the heavenly tribulation? Everyone's expression suddenly changed. This Yan Chuan is a little interesting. Although I don't know what he's doing there. But it seems that it's not ordinary. Shangguan Wan'er said with a smile. Miss Shangguan, why? You did it on purpose. Mo Yu Shi's expression immediately fell. That's right. I deliberately let true Lord Lan Yu go back. So I want you all to not interfere. Shangguan Wan'er nodded. Deliberately let true Lord Lan Yu go back. Mo Yu Shi frowned and said in puzzlement. I wanted to take a look at this Yan Chuan's quality. Shangguan Wan'er nodded. Why didn't you tell me? Why? Mo Yu Shi cried out in shock. Everyone looked at Shangguan Wan'er. Shangguan Wan'er said coolly, this is what the Holy Lord instructed, to let me investigate Yan Chuan. Unfortunately, Yan Chuan can really hide. Many things can't be found. Therefore, I deliberately let true Lord Lan Yu go back. You all still want to stop the Holy Lord's request. Everyone's faces turned solemn. Immediately, the complaints from before immediately dissipated. Only Mo Yu Shi was still brooding. Miss Shangguan, isn't it a little too much for you to do this? That true Lord Lan Yu is an upper void realm. Furthermore, you didn't give him an explanation at all. He won't care about the consequences. Mo Yu Shi was still worried. Care about the consequences? What I want to see is naturally how Yan Chuan is under the circumstances where he doesn't care about the consequences. Lass, you don't have to be too worried. Shangguan Wan'er's eyes have never been wrong before. This Yan Chuan will only be stronger than I imagined and not weaker. Shangguan Wan'er's eyes turned intent as she said. Mo Yu Shi's face was anxious. But now that things had come to this, she was powerless to do anything. With a trace of irritation, Mo Yu Shi looked at the celestial phenomenon pool. By the side, Mohina Dojin revealed a hint of a cold smile. As for the others, they were all deep in thought. The Holy Lord's instructions. Who still dared to refute? Chapter 854. Under true Lord Lan Yu's tacit approval, a sword-wielding red-clothed old man strode straight towards Yan Chuan. The long sword danced with endless killing intent. Humph! Yan Chuan snorted coldly. Boom! A black vine suddenly shot up into the sky from the ground. The old man's expression changed, and he was about to slash out with his sword. Chi! The rattan was extremely fast. Before the red-clothed old man could react, it had already wrapped around his hands. Bastard, open for me. The old man's body emitted a dazzling blue light. Unfortunately, the vines were even sturdier than the old man had imagined. There was no way he could break free. I remember you. Last time, I spared you once. Do you still want to die? Yan Chuan said coldly. Swish! With a flick of the vine, it smashed into the ground. Boom! The old man immediately felt dizzy from the fall. Bastard! The old man cried out in pain. Although he was dizzy, the old man was still a lower emptiness realm expert. It was impossible for him to be seriously injured by a fall. However, Yan Chuan's punishment was not over yet. Ah! Boom! The old man was pulled into the ground by the vines, and in the blink of an eye, he was underground. Rumble! A bulge could be seen on the ground. The bulge was rapidly moving around the heavenly tribulation mountain range. Ah! Along the way, miserable shrieks could be heard. They traveled far underground and circled around the heavenly tribulation mountain range. Countless cultivators in all directions felt a chill in their hearts. It was easy to imagine the scene of being rubbed against by the mud and rocks as they traveled quickly underground. It wasn't like they were ghosts or ghosts. They were actually rubbing against the ground. Ah! Ah! The old man's pained screams could be heard from deep underground. Nearly 10,000 cultivators felt a chill in their hearts. Bastard! Yan Chuan, you're courting death. True Lord Lan Yu's face fell as he said. I'll return it to you. Bang! A figure emerged from the ground and soared into the sky. Everyone quickly caught it. It was the old man who had provoked them earlier. The old man's clothes were all tattered, and there were countless bloody scars on his body from the friction with the ground. His entire body was limp. Sect Master, more than half of his bones were crushed under the ground. His internal organs have ruptured, and his body is about to rot. Someone at the side immediately explained. Looking at the dying old man, the cultivators felt a chill in their hearts. At the same time, they felt even angrier. Master, I implore Master to allow us to kill this thief. A cultivator suddenly cried out. Sect Master, please agree. Sect Master, please agree. Nearly 10,000 practitioners were filled with righteous indignation. They looked at Yan Chuan with hatred. Approved. True Monarch Lan Yu said coldly. Yes. Nearly 10,000 practitioners immediately shouted. Who? For a moment, the swords of nearly 10,000 practitioners were all pointed at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan smiled coldly. Just because Zhen doesn't cause trouble doesn't mean that Zhen is afraid of trouble. Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with a cold light. As he spoke, the poisonous miasma within 10 li of him suddenly withdrew, as if it was being sucked into the ground. Everyone froze for a moment. However, most of them wanted to kill Yan Chuan. Kill! Kill! The group of practitioners immediately shouted. For a moment, the first batch of 30 practitioners charged at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan glared. The ground trembled again. Bang! Bang! The ground within 10 li of him seemed to explode in an instant. A large amount of rocks and soil shot up into the sky. Chapter 855. Along with the soil, nearly 10,000 black vines shot up into the sky. Huff! 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 The first 30 cultivators who rushed up were all entangled by the vines without any suspense. Not only that, those cultivators who had yet to make a move were chased by thousands of vines and quickly entangled. Ah! Sect Master, save me! Master, save me! Help! While the countless cultivators panicked, only 4,000 managed to escape. The remaining 6,000 were entangled by the vines. No, it should be a sea of vines. Endless vines sprouted from the ground within 10 miles. Below the ground, the vines continued to swim, as if they were intertwining with each other. 6,000 xiuzhe were instantly pulled into the sea of vines and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Nearly 10,000 vines soared into the air from the sea of vines, continuously reaching for the fleeing cultivators. They looked like thousands of flood dragons waiting to feast. Ah! Ah! Within the sea of vines, countless miserable shrieks could be heard. Clearly, the scene from before was repeating itself. However, before this, there was only one person. Now, there were 6,000 people, all of them being tortured underground. The xiuzhe flying into the sky felt cold all over. Below, there were giant vines that spanned 100 miles. This scene was too exaggerated. It was like a giant snake cave with its bloody mouth wide open, waiting to devour everyone. Countless xiuzhe felt cold all over. Only 5 people stood motionlessly behind Lan Yu, true monarch, their eyes bright. The 5 of them were all at the middle void stage. Thus, they were not too afraid of the sea of vines. However, the 5 of them seemed to have realized something. This is an immortal artifact. A middle void stage expert's eyes lit up. Good immortal tool, this venerable has cultivated for many years, but I have never seen such an immortal tool. Supreme Lan Yu's eyes lit up. At the same time, in front of the celestial phenomenon pond in the Great Zhao holy grounds, Mohina Dojin and the others' eyes lit up. What is this? A plant-type demon? That's not right, right? Only true monarch Lan Yu would think that it was an immortal tool, and Mao Ri, Yu Yu, and the others had received Shenguan Wan's hint that it was Yan Chuan who swallowed the heavenly tribulation and not an immortal tool. However, the scene in front of them puzzled them. Everyone looked at Mo Yushi at the same time. Saintess Yushi, do you know what this is? Mohina Dojin asked in a deep voice. Mo Yushi sneered, Mohina Dojin is so knowledgeable, why do you need to ask me? Mohina Dojin's face turned ugly. Everyone turned their attention back to the constellation lake. Shenguan Wan raised her eyebrows. A thoughtful expression appeared on his face. On the screen, above the sea of vines, after a series of twisting, a huge figure slowly emerged. Its head, arms, and legs were all connected to the sea of vines. The monster's eyes glowed as it looked at the people in the sky. This is demonic beast? No, a demon. Not an immortal tool. Supreme Lan Yu's face darkened. The 5 middle void stage experts also looked surprised. Behind the demon, Yan Chuan said in a deep voice, Supreme Lan Yu, if you retreat now, I will return your 6,000 disciples. Supreme Lan Yu's eyes narrowed, retreat? Yan Chuan, the more you insist, the more powerful an immortal tool is here. You don't deserve it. Ah! The vine demon roared. Boom! Tens of thousands of vines rushed towards Supreme Lan Yu and the others. Chapter 856. True Lord Lan Yu snorted coldly, and a long sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Swish! Swish! Under the sword light, a large number of vines were instantly severed. Just as so. True Lord Lan Yu said coldly. Boom! The severed vines fell into the sea of vines. However, the moment they fell into the sea of vines, they melted in the blink of an eye and merged into the sea of vines. The severed vines quickly grew back as though they were never severed at all. Ah! The vine demon charged up furiously, swinging countless dragon-like vines at true Lord Lan Yu. Tens of thousands of vines arrived together, howling ferociously. Boom! A huge impact clashed with true Lord Lan Yu's long sword. The vine demon had the ability to regenerate. Even though true Lord Lan Yu severed countless vines, they recovered in an instant. The sea of vines soared into the sky. Carrying endless anger, it covered the sky and surged towards the sky. After true Lord Lan Yu slashed for a while, a large number of disciples in the sky were attacked by the sea of vines again. The huge vines were strong and numerous. Although the 5 Middle Void Realm cultivators could protect themselves, they were not strong enough to attack. They kept fighting with the sea of vines. The vine demon wrapped around the cultivators and used them as weapons to fight with the Middle Void Realm cultivators. As long as the Middle Void Realm cultivators attacked, they would definitely kill their own disciples. Ah! Master, don't kill me. The Middle Void Realm experts were flustered. The vines were too ferocious. The endless vines were like an army of thousands of men and horses, constantly attacking the cultivators. True Lord Lan Yu's face sank. Although the long sword in his hand was incomparably sharp, the vine demon could regenerate. One by one, the disciples were entangled. True Lord Lan Yu's face immediately turned extremely unsightly. At this time, the vine demon had already flown off the ground. All the huge vines flew into the sky and pounced at true Lord Lan Yu. Yan Chuan stood on the ground, looking coldly at the sky. Quick, don't worry about me. I'll entangle this demon. You capture Yan Chuan. Capture Yan Chuan. True Lord Lan Yu shouted. Yes. Countless cultivators immediately fled and pounced at Yan Chuan. True Lord Lan Yu cooperated with them to lure the vine demon higher and higher, luring the vine demon far away. Nearly 3,000 practitioners fled from all directions and charged straight at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan stood with his hands behind his back. He wasn't afraid in the slightest, even when facing 5 Middle Void stage martial artists. The Jade Emperor sword on his back trembled slightly and was about to fly out. Swish! Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Yan Chuan. Your Majesty, I'm late to protect you. Jin Dayu said worriedly. Done? Yan Chuan was slightly delighted. Yes. It's beginning to take shape. Jin Dayu said excitedly. In that case, there is no need for us to start a massacre. Let us see your Heaven Realm Gate. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Yes. After experiencing the Vine Yao, the 3,000 Xiuzha in the sky had become much more careful. When Jin Dayu suddenly appeared, everyone paused. I know him. Last time, we fought in the Great Revelation Holy Land. He is only at the Middle Void stage. If we attack together, he will not be a match for us. Immediately, someone shouted. All right. Everyone responded and dared not delay any further. They quickly charged towards Yan Chuan and Jin Dayu. Boom! Jin Dayu opened his mouth and spat out a 90 zhang tall giant bell. The giant bell was still very rough. Some runes could be vaguely seen on it. Clearly, it was just as Jin Dayu said. It was just beginning to take shape. However, even though it was just beginning to take shape, it still radiated golden light like a golden sun. It was so dazzling that many people found it hard to open their eyes. The moment the giant bell appeared, a dense ferocious aura was emitted. The surrounding soil was immediately overturned. At the celestial phenomenon pool, Sun Mountain, he refined the Sun Mountain into the shape of a bell. Mohina Dojin raised his brows and said, Bell? The others also looked curiously. Jin Dayu held the giant bell in his hand and looked at the 3,000 Xiuzha rushing over from afar. He revealed a cold smile. Jin Dayu extended his hand and smacked the giant bell fiercely. Kill! The 3,000 Xiuzhe rushed down. Primal chaos ring. Dang! The bell rang. From the giant bell, a yellow sound wave rippled towards the 3,000 Xiuzhe. Buzz! Bam! 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 Nearly 100 cultivators immediately bled all over, their flesh turning into a bloody mess. Pooh! Pooh! The better ones spat out blood and fainted on the spot. Most of them were holding their bloody ears with their hands, curling up in pain as they fell to the ground, rolling around and shouting, "My ears!" Ah! Even the 5 middle void stage experts stopped moving at this moment. The chi and blood in their bodies surged, and their divine souls trembled violently. They tried to force their divine souls to stay still, but the trembling was too strong. The impact caused their divine souls to collapse instantly. For a moment, the 5 middle void stage experts were all muddle-headed and swaying. Chapter 857. Dazhao Holy Land, beside the astronomical phenomenon pond. Other than Mo Yushi, almost everyone's jaws dropped. Especially Mohina Dojin. This is impossible. What kind of magic treasure is this? Mohina Dojin exclaimed. As soon as the golden bell rang, a yellow ripple spread out. The 3,000 cultivators were all severely injured. Some of them were unconscious, some of them were crying bitterly. The 5 middle void realm experts were even more muddle-headed. They had lost their ability to resist for a while. Bell chime. Just a bell chime. Everyone had seen all kinds of magic treasures and giant bells, but they had never seen such a strange bell. Especially Mohina Dojin. That giant golden bell was originally his, although it was only a sun mountain at that time. However, it was still his. Ever since Jing Ming gave it to him, Mohina Dojin had thought of many ways to refine it, but he did not know what kind of magic treasure to refine. Because all kinds of magic treasures could not achieve the same effect. Mohina Dojin thought that this kind of material could not be used to refine magic treasures. However, the scene in front of him had already explained everything. It was not that it could not be refined, but that the material was too high grade. Ordinary magic treasures could not withstand it. Bell? Mohina Dojin's eyes were filled with greed and regret. I must get it, I must get it. Sheng Guanwan frowned slightly and stared at the bell. A trace of doubt flashed in her eyes. In the image. After Jin Dayu's bell rang, the 3,000 cultivators almost lost the ability to fight. The 5 middle void stage experts had a trace of clarity in their muddle-headed state. However, how could Jin Dayu let them? Boom! Boom! Jin Dayu attacked and quickly restrained the 5 muddle-headed people. He used a special secret method to suppress their cultivation and kicked each of them to a pile of people. Heaven Realm Gate. Very good. I look forward to becoming stronger in your hands. Yan Chuan sighed. From Yan Chuan's eyes, Jin Dayu did not see a trace of greed, only admiration. Jin Dayu immediately felt relieved. Turning their heads, the two looked at the sky. Rumble. A sea of vines that blotted out the sky surrounded Downlord Abyssal Azure Flame. The sea of vines was like a giant ball, wrapping around true monarch Lan Yu. One could only tell from the intense twisting of the giant ball that the battle inside was extremely intense. Boom! 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 About an hour later. Not good. True monarch Lan Yu's exclamation came from inside. Boom! The rattan ball suddenly stopped. Slowly, a figure that was tightly bound by vines emerged from the sea of vines, revealing a head. Perfected Lord Lan Yu. True Lord Lan Yu was trapped. His face twitched in disbelief. Great Zhao Holy Lands, astronomical phenomenon pond's entrance. True Lord Lan Yu, he's at the upper void realm. Even if he just reached the upper void realm, even if he's at the first level of the upper void realm, he's still at the upper void realm. Dao Lord Yu said in surprise. That demon is so powerful. Completely under Yan Chuan's command? Mohina Dojin's expression changed. However, Mo Yushi laughed. Miss Shangguan, I think you've already gotten what you want. There's no need to investigate anymore, right? Shangguan Wan frowned deeply and stared fixedly at Yan Chuan in the image. No need to investigate anymore. Shangguan Wan realized that up until now, Yan Chuan did not seem to have made a move yet. Not yet. Everyone that true monarch Lan Yu brought was completely wiped out. This Yan Chuan looked more and more mysterious. In the image, Yan Chuan looked at true monarch Lan Yu, who was entangled by countless giant vines, and said with a cold smile, "True monarch Lan Yu, do you still want to search?" Chapter 858. The face of Supreme Lan Yu, who was entangled by the giant vines, was extremely ugly. Lan Yu merit, Dharma world. Supreme Lan Yu roared stubbornly. Buzz! Descending from the sky, a golden beam of light suddenly poured into the sea of vines and rushed into Supreme Lan Yu's body. Supreme Lan Yu instantly burst into golden light. Boom! Supreme Lan Yu struggled fiercely, and a large number of giant vines instantly collapsed. Mobilize the merits of Lan Yu sect. Yan Chuan's face changed. Roar! Under Supreme Lan Yu's roar, he mobilized the power of merit. In an instant, his left fist swung out, and a large number of giant vines exploded. The sea of vines was unable to trap Supreme Lan Yu for a while. Emperor, I'm coming, Jin Dayu said. As he spoke, the giant bell floated up again. His hands slammed again. Heaven realm gate open, all laws perish. Dang! Another bell rang, but this time, it was a light purple sound wave ripple. Buzz! The light purple sound wave ripple rushed to the sky, and instantly rushed to Supreme Lan Yu. Boom! The boundless merit that enveloped Supreme Lan Yu collapsed in an instant and dispersed with a loud rumble. The power of merit that was mobilized dissipated in an instant. No, impossible! Supreme Lan Yu roared in shock. Hulyalu! The giant vine grew out again, and once again wrapped Supreme Lan Yu tightly. More thorough than before, more powerful than before. Ah! The vine demon appeared next to him, revealing an angry expression. Ah! Supreme Lan Yu was tortured by the vine demon and cried out in pain. At this moment, Supreme Lan Yu no longer had the strength to attack. His biggest reliance was gone. What was there to fight now? Supreme Lan Yu was completely annihilated. And in the great Zhao Holy Land, at the mouth of the celestial phenomenon pond, everyone looked at the image in surprise. How could this be? Supreme Lan Yu is mobilizing merit. Although it's outside the Lan Yu sect, it's not far away. That bell is so domineering. What a domineering bell! Everyone was discussing. Mohina Dojin was shouting in his heart. This should have been his. It should have been his. Shangguan Wan said in a low voice, the power of this bell is worthy of being an immortal item. Immortal item? Everyone looked at Shangguan Wan. Who would have thought that a mere middle void stage cultivator would be able to refine immortal artifacts? Although it's the lowest grade, it's still an immortal item. Shangguan Wan frowned. What do we do now? Miss Shangguan, true monarch Lan Yu's army was completely wiped out. Someone shouted. Yeah, what if Yan Chuan kills true monarch Lan Yu? Mohina Dojin said solemnly. Girl, what do you think? Shangguan Wan frowned as she looked at Mo Yushi. Mo Yushi said with a relaxed expression, what can I do? It was Miss Shangguan's own decision. She told true monarch Lan Yu not to hold back. Either true monarch Lan Yu died, or Yan Chuan died. Don't tell me Miss Shangguan didn't expect this result. Shangguan could hear the resentment in Mo Yushi's voice and smiled. Then, Shangguan looked at Yan Chuan on the screen. Yan Chuan didn't make a move, but he did just now. Because Jin Dayu and the Vine Monster should be part of Yan Chuan's power. Yan Chuan stood there from the beginning to the end, as if he was sitting in the middle of the army tent. Shangguan looked at Yan Chuan with interest. Her plan this time had yielded great results, but it was still not enough. Shangguan stared at Yan Chuan on the screen. Just as Shangguan was thinking, Yan Chuan moved. Yan Chuan suddenly turned his head to look at the sky. Chapter 859. How can this be? Someone suddenly exclaimed. It can't be, right? Mohina Dojin also exclaimed. Mo Yushi's eyes widened. Everyone had a look of disbelief. Yan Chuan raised his head and looked at the sky. No, his gaze was fixed on the people of the Dazhao holy ground. It was as if he was looking over from the constellation pond. Yan Chuan's gaze passed through the constellation pond and stared at Shangguan. As they looked at each other, Shangguan also revealed a trace of surprise. However, Shangguan calmed down and stared at Yan Chuan through the constellation pond. Miss Shangguan. And everyone, you've all watched for a long time. Yan Chuan said coldly. Jin Dayu stood at the side and looked around as if he was facing a great enemy. There was no enemy. Jin Dayu looked at Yan Chuan in confusion. Outside the constellation pond. The experts all revealed a look of surprise. He really looked over. How can this be? How did he see it? Everyone looked at the image in shock. Yan Chuan could see them through the image. Don't worry, Yan Chuan didn't look over. He just sensed it. Shangguan immediately said. Sensed? Everyone was puzzled. It sensed. Some people are born with a sense for such surveillance. Yan Chuan actually guessed it. Ha, the Holy Lord didn't see wrongly. This person is indeed hiding too much. Shangguan took a deep breath and said. In the image, Yan Chuan said solemnly, Shangguan I don't want to be enemies with the Dazhao holy ground. You don't have to do this anymore. If you really want to find out something from me, you can ask Mo Yushi. There's no need to do this anymore. I will release true monarch Lan Yu and discipline her well. Shangguan's eyes narrowed. He guessed it. Yan Chuan guessed Miss Shangguan's plan. Everyone asked in surprise. Miss Shangguan, if there's anything you want to know, you can ask me. Please don't do this kind of thing again. Mo Yushi said awkwardly. With a faint smile, Shangguan waved her sleeve. Buzz. Ripples appeared on the surface of the celestial phenomenon pond, and the reflection within instantly disappeared. Alright, everyone, please go back, Shangguan said. Yes. Everyone nodded. Filled with doubt and surprise, they left one after another. Only Shangguan stood by the pool and walked back and forth, thinking about how to explain it to Jingming. Heavenly Tribulation Mountain Range. Yan Chuan and Jin Dayu stood on the peak of a mountain and watched as perfected Lord Lan Yu led the Lan Yu sect disciples away. Your Majesty, is there really someone monitoring us? Jin Dayu asked in surprise. Well, don't worry, the surveillance has been removed. Yan Chuan smiled. Yes. Continue to refine the Heaven Realm Gate. Next, there will be a long period of peace. Yan Chuan smiled. Yes. A year later, the matter of the Heaven Calamity Mountain Range had been sealed by the Lan Yu sect disciples. No one was allowed to spread it. Perfected Lord Lan Yu also went to the Great Zhao Holy Ground again. Yan Chuan and Jin Dayu also obtained another year of peace. At this time, outside a city south of the Lan Yu sect. At this moment, there were 12 black-robed men standing there. Cough, cough, cough. One of them coughed non-stop. Your Majesty, this is already the periphery of the Great Zhao Holy Ground. This should be the territory of the Lan Yu sect. A black-robed man said respectfully. Cough, 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 cough. Your Majesty, are we going just like this? Won't we lose Your Majesty's identity? The coughing man laughed. Snake Emperor, what do you want to say? The leader of the black-robed men said in a deep voice. Hee hee, cough, 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 cough. Your Majesty, since you're here, then let's raise your prestige. Great Zhao Holy Ground. Why don't we use the zombie army to attack the city? Snake Emperor laughed. Chapter 860. A city of Lan Yu sect. Endless screams could be heard from the city. Ah! Save me! Ghost! Don't bite me, don't bite me, ah! Not good, boss is bitten, boss is going to become a zombie too. Let me out, help! The screams were endless, and the city was in chaos. At each of the 4 gates stood a black-robed man. The gates were tightly shut, and no one could enter or leave. Outside the city, on a small hill, there were also 2 black-robed men. Cough, cough, cough. Your Majesty, 5 cities, 10 million people have become zombies. Shall we advance to Lan Yu sect next? The Snake Emperor coughed. N. The other black-robed man nodded. Dazhao Holy Ground. Beside the celestial phenomenon pond. The 5 sect leaders, Maori, Yu, and Mo Yushi, accompanied by Shangguanwan, looked at the celestial phenomenon pond together. This is my Lan Yu sect. Lan Yu Supreme's face changed. In the image. Outside a mountain range shrouded in merits. A group of pale-faced cultivators walked forward with their hands hanging by their sides. The corners of these people's mouths were full of blood, and their eyes were empty. However, their faces were twisted and ferocious. Some of them even had their arms broken, but these people did not know pain and did not stop the bleeding. They just walked towards Lan Yu sect while roaring. Roar! Roar! Close to 10 million people were all like zombies. They walked slowly towards Lan Yu sect. 10 disciples flew out from Lan Yu sect. Each of them had an ugly expression as they approached. Stop, don't you know this is Lan Yu sect? A disciple shouted. No, this is Wu City's city lord. Why are you here? Another disciple was surprised. Roar! The zombie in front suddenly roared and led a group of zombies to pounce on them. What are you doing? The disciples' faces changed. However, they were soon surrounded by zombies. Roar! Ah, don't bite me! Roar! After the zombies dispersed, the 10 disciples' faces were all pale and their eyes were empty. They joined the zombies and headed towards the Blue Transcendent sect. Beside the celestial phenomenon pond. This. Immortal Lan Yu exclaimed. Not only Supreme Lan Yu, everyone looked at this scene in surprise. Is this a zombie? I've heard that zombies can use corpse poison to turn humans into new zombies, but it shouldn't be this fast. Mo Yushi exclaimed. They're not zombies, they're zombies. They're highly infectious, but they don't have consciousness. After these practitioners were bitten to death, they were infected by zombie poison. At the same time, they must have been manipulated by someone behind the scenes, Shangguanwan said in a low voice. Zombies? With zombies like this, aren't they invincible? Mo Yushi didn't understand. It's not invincible. There are many types of zombie poison, and they all have a time limit. The worst can only last for 3 months, and the strongest can last for 3 years. It's a one-time consumable. Shangguanwan said nonchalantly. In the image, the zombie army was advancing towards Lan Yu sect. A large number of practitioners flew out and killed the zombies with their swords. However, as long as they were bitten, the Lan Yu sect disciples would join the zombie army. The zombies kept replenishing, but the Lan Yu sect disciples kept decreasing. Miss Shangguan, my Lan Yu sect is in danger now. Supreme Lan Yu's expression changed. Chapter 861. Lan Yu sect is about to be destroyed. Shangguan Wan nodded. Perfected Lord Lan Yu's expression changed. Looking at the scene, she felt extremely bitter. Jing Ying took the heaven seal, and Perfected Lord Lan Yu boarded the ship. Perfected Lord Lan Yu did not care about Lan Yu sect, but seeing it destroyed, she still felt bitter. Lady Shangguan, you said there's a mastermind behind the scenes? Is someone deliberately targeting our Dazhao Holy Land? Mo Yushi's expression changed. Zombie? I remember now. It's King Gai of Southern Divine Continent. He said that he will come to Dazhao Holy Land soon. This zombie must be his doing. Dao Lord Yu Yu's expression darkened. King Gai. Everyone's expression changed. Shangguan Wan frowned. The Holy Lord is in seclusion now. It's not convenient to deal with this. You guys go and give King Gai a warning. Make him behave. Us? Everyone. Mohina Dojin's eyes lit up. That's right. Other than Mo Yushi, everyone else will go. 7 Upper Void Realm cultivators should be enough. Dao Lord Yuri and Dao Lord Yu Yu will lead the team. Shangguan Wan said in a low voice. Yes. The 7 of them answered immediately. Go. Shangguan Wan said in a low voice. Yes. The 7 of them quickly stepped out of the main hall and flew towards the south. Lady Shangguan, don't I have to go? Mo Yushi's eyes flashed with worry. Shangguan Wan smiled. Girl, I know you're worried about Yen Chuan. But think about it. Does that Yen Chuan need you to worry about him? He's just a zombie. Oh. Mo Yushi nodded, but there was still some worry between her brows. Shangguan Wan smiled. There's one more thing. You're the Holy Lord's daughter. The Holy Lord is in seclusion. There are some things that need your help. Oh. Mo Yushi asked curiously. 3 days later, come with me to pick up someone. Although this person submitted to the Holy Lord still treats him with respect. It's clear that the Holy Lord values him. As the Holy Lord's daughter, you have to come with me. Shangguan Wan smiled. Who? Mo Yushi asked in surprise. Jingying had always thought that she was the biggest in the world. There was someone else that the sacred leader treated with respect? His name is Yuan Tiangang. Shangguan Wan said. Yuan Tiangang? Mo Yushi looked confused. She had never heard of such a person in the world. Lan Yu sect. Roar. Roar. Countless zombies pounced on the Lan Yu sect, and the entire Lan Yu sect was enveloped by a massive sword chi. The sword chi rumbled as it swept out like a storm. The upper echelons of the Lan Yu sect kept killing one zombie after another. The upper echelons of the Lan Yu sect were powerful, but there were also a large number of experts among the zombies. They continued to advance with numbers. Finally, after 3 days, the last cultivator of the Lan Yu sect fell to the zombies. Boom! The blue transcendent sect's ocean of merit shattered. The Lan Yu sect was destroyed. Cough, cough, cough. Your Majesty, the great Zhao Holy Land should have received the news of the Blue Tranquil sect's annihilation. Snake Emperor said to King Gai with a smile. King Gai nodded. Your Majesty, this place is rich in heaven and earth Yuan Qi. It should be a treasure land. Your Majesty, please rest here for now. The battle with Jingying cannot be held in the great Zhao Holy Land. I think it's best to hold it here. Cough, cough, cough. Snake Emperor smiled. Alright, I will wait here for Jingying to come. King Guy nodded. Lan Yu sect, zombie territory. King Guy Yu stayed temporarily. A group of black-robed people walked to Snake Emperor. Snake Emperor. What's the next step? A black-robed figure asked. Chapter 862. Let the zombies spread out and turn all the cultivators in the vicinity into zombies. Since we've already done it, let's make it bigger to prevent Jing Ting from bringing a large number of cultivators to counterattack. Yes. By the way, Snake Emperor, there seems to be a Heaven Calamity mountain range near the Lan Yu sect. That's a good place to raise zombies. Also, your cough is also. The black-robed man said respectfully. Oh. The Snake Emperor's eyes lit up. Heaven Calamity mountain range. Although Yan Chuan was living here, he was not idle. In a large hall, Yan Chuan had a large number of files in front of him. Geographical distribution of the Lan Yu sect, distribution of the Great Zhao Holy Land, history of the founding of the great sects in the East Divine Continent. While Yan Chuan was cultivating, he was constantly reading this information. Although this information didn't seem to be of much use, it was what Yan Chuan needed the most. Because only by understanding these could he have a clearer understanding of the world's situation. Hades Emperor. Qing Long's voice came from outside the hall. Come in. Yan Chuan put down the book in his hand and called out. Soon, Qing Long stepped into the hall. His face revealed a look of panic. What's wrong? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Hades Emperor, something big has happened. A few days ago, I went out to search for some geographical maps for Hades Emperor, but I encountered some unbelievable things along the way. The Lan Yu sect near us was completely destroyed. Qing Long said worriedly. Oh. The Lan Yu sect was destroyed. What's going on? Yan Chuan suddenly became serious. The Lan Yu sect was a vassal sect of the Great Zhao Holy Land. Who dared to find trouble with them? And it was even destroyed. Was he trying to go against Jingming? A group of walking corpses, it's like this. Qing Long recalled the scene he saw during this period. Zombies? Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows. Zombies? Qing Long asked curiously. Yan Chuan frowned as he paced back and forth in the hall. Looks like the king of Gaiyu is here, ha. Yan Chuan's expression changed. King of Gaian. The emperor of the southern divine continent's great tragedy heavenly dynasty. What is he doing here? Qing Long was puzzled. Why are you here? Of course, I'm looking for Jingming. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Find the sacred master. King of Gaian. It was a pity that I did not get to see your technique that day. Today, I shall witness it for myself. King Guai from the celestial realm. Unfortunately, you made the wrong move. The people in this world might not necessarily be inferior to the people in the immortal world. There are many people that even I can't see through, Yan Chuan muttered to himself as his eyes narrowed. Hell Emperor. Why is King Gaiyu looking for Holy Lord? Qing Long was still puzzled. What are you doing? Ha, he's here to compete with Jing Ming for the title of most powerful person in the world. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Compete for the title of most powerful person in the world? Qing Long was stunned. Qing Long, when are you going back? Yan Chuan looked at Qing Long. Go back. Dao Lord Yushi instructed me to stay here. With Bai Long and Rosefinch protecting Dao Lord, it should be fine. I'll stay here and help Hell Emperor. I'm more familiar with the surroundings. If there's anything, Hell Emperor doesn't have to do it himself. I can handle it. Qing Long said. All right. Yan Chuan nodded. Just as the two were talking, a group of roars came from the forest in the distance. Roar! Roar! A group of angry roars came. Qing Long's expression changed. This is... zombies? Yes, I remember. It's the sound of zombies. The zombies are here. Zombies? Yan Chuan's eyes narrowed. Chapter 864. Regardless of whether it was living or undead, they all had vitality and death. It was just that the ratio was different. For example, a person's birth chart power was 100. Vitality was 60, and death was 40. An ordinary death would only transform vitality into death, turning it into 40 vitality and 60 death. A living being would transform into an undead. However, the god's sword's purification did not transform vitality and death but deprive it of vitality. For example, a zombie's vitality was 45% and death was 55%. After purification, it would become 40% vitality and 55% death. Although they were freed and purified, they only had 95 birth chart power left, which was 5% less than their original soul. Of course, everyone's birth chart power was different. It could not be measured by numbers. Perhaps some people would still have more birth chart power than ordinary people even after a portion of their birth chart power was taken away. However, nobody here knew how terrifying the god's sword was. Most of the vitality was absorbed by the god's sword to strengthen its sword soul. 1% of it was taken away by Yan Chuan. This was the purest vitality. At the same time, Yan Chuan held a large number of spirit stones in his hand. The primal energy in the spirit stones surged into Yan Chuan's body. Many people paid attention to cultivation techniques. However, the ultimate goal of any cultivation technique was to strengthen one's birth chart. However, those with low cultivation bases would not be able to sense the birth chart at all. The body was equivalent to a container. Once the container was full, it would be useless no matter how much primal energy one absorbed. This was the so-called bottleneck. The increase in one's cultivation base was actually an increase in one's birth chart. As one's birth chart increased, the body would become bigger. This would allow one to absorb more primal energy. In other words, the birth chart controlled everything. Only when one's birth chart was strong would one's cultivation base increase. Only then would one be able to absorb more energy. Although Yan Chuan had the soul and will of his previous life, his birth chart belonged to this life. Therefore, he had to cultivate from the beginning in this life. He had to increase his cultivation base and expand his birth chart from the beginning. Although the Jade Emperor's sword could increase one's cultivation base by absorbing energy from killing people, that was under the premise of overdrawing the power of one's birth chart. Every time the Jade Emperor's sword increased his cultivation base, Yan Chuan had to constantly cultivate to stabilize the power of his birth chart. He only dared to use it a second time after his birth chart was strengthened. This was because once one's birth chart was destroyed, one's life was over. However, it was different now. The god's sword was able to take away one's vitality and birth charts. The god's sword was too tyrannical. It went against the harmony of the heavens. He was afraid that the wrath of the heavens would descend upon the god's sword, causing the god's sword that he refined with great difficulty to be destroyed by the wrath of the heavens. That's why Yan Chuan didn't dare to use it often. Only when the zombies attacked did Yan Chuan officially use it. Life force surged into his body, and a large amount of heaven and earth yuan qi entered his body. Yan Chuan's cultivation was increasing bit by bit. At the peak of a mountain outside the heavenly tribulation mountain range. Cough, cough, cough. The snake emperor covered his mouth with a handkerchief. He stood on top of a mountain and looked coldly at the heaven tribulation mountain range in the distance. Endless sword qi soared into the sky, and a white light shone. All the zombies that entered were purified. Snake Emperor, the heavenly tribulation mountain range has been occupied by someone else? He even set up a formation to purify the zombies. This is a warning to us. A black-robed man beside him said worriedly. Cough cough. The Snake Emperor threw away the handkerchief that was coughing up blood and took out a new one. He looked coldly at the heavenly tribulation mountain range. Purify. There's a limit to how much a Dharma treasure can purify. Gather more zombies and charge. I want to see how many Dharma treasures the people inside have. The Snake Emperor said coldly. Chapter 865. Yes. What the Snake Emperor did not know was that when the god's sword purified and released a large amount of white light, not only did it not cause any damage, but it also absorbed a large amount of vitality. The more it purified, the stronger the god's sword became. Roar! 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 More and more zombies swarmed in from all directions. Under the Snake Emperor's orders, they attacked the Heaven's Calamity Mountain range en masse. On the other side, King Gaio's subordinates were continuously creating zombies. The two sides cancelled each other out, and it seemed like the number of zombies in King of Gaitu did not increase by much. More and more zombies rushed into the mountains, and more of them were purified. Half a month later. Still at the peak of the mountain. Cough, 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 cough. The Snake Emperor was so angry that he coughed out blood again. Useless. That purifying power didn't decrease at all. A black-robed figure at the side said in surprise. Snake Emperor, what do we do now? Did he still want to provoke them? The other party has been purifying for half a month and hasn't done anything to us. It's obvious that they're just protecting themselves and don't want to be enemies with us. That's right, Snake Emperor. If the other party can purify so many zombies, his strength must be extraordinary. Right now, His Majesty is conserving his strength and preparing to fight against Jingting. At this critical juncture, it's better not to complicate matters, right? Snake Emperor. Everyone tried to persuade the Snake Emperor. No. The Snake Emperor narrowed his eyes, and a cold light shot out from his eyes. The person inside must be investigated thoroughly. How can he allow others to snore under his bed? The Emperor and Jing Ming could not afford to lose in the battle. What if the practitioners in the Heavenly Calamity Mountain Range jumped out at the crucial moment? After all, this is not my great nightmare Heavenly Dynasty. The Snake Emperor said coldly. Yes. The black-robed figures nodded. Just as the Snake Emperor was about to lead the black-robed figures into the Heavenly Tribulation Mountain Range, a black figure suddenly flew over from afar. Reporting. The black figure landed in front of the Snake Emperor. What's wrong? The Snake Emperor frowned. Snake Emperor, true Lord Lan Yu of the Blue Transcendent Sect has returned. He's outside the Blue Transcendent Sect now. Black Shadow said solemnly. Cough cough, true monarch Lan Yu. Just him alone? The Snake Emperor asked with narrowed eyes. Yes. One person. Do you think I'll believe you? There must be other people hiding in the dark. The upper void realm of the Dazhao Holy Land is almost here. Go back and block everyone for me. Don't let anyone disturb His Majesty. The Snake Emperor said in a deep voice. Yes. The black-robed figures replied. Is the Snake Emperor not going back with us? A black-robed figure asked doubtfully. I'll personally explore the Heavenly Tribulation Mountain Range. Cough cough. Snake Emperor narrowed his eyes and said. Yes. The black-robed figures seemed to be extremely confident in the Snake Emperor. North of the Heavenly Tribulation Mountain Range. At the peak of a mountain. At the peak of the mountain stood Mohina Dojin and Tao Lord Yu Yu. And look to the south. True Lord Lan Yu, they've probably already gone. Mohina Dojin, why did you ask me to stay behind alone? Tao Lord Yu Yu laughed. Mohina Dojin looked at the southwest gate and said with a slightly solemn expression, Tao Lord Yu, you and I have worked together for thousands of years. That's right. Why? Tao Lord Yu smiled. This time, I actually want to ask you to do me a favor. I will forever remember your words. Tao Lord Solar said solemnly. Oh. Tao Lord Yu's eyes lit up. You still remember Sun Mountain, right? Mohina Dojin said in a deep voice. Of course I know. Now that it has fallen into the hands of Yan Chuan and Jin Dayu, it has turned into a gigantic bell. Tao Lord Yu laughed. That's right. Sun Mountain was bestowed to me by the Holy Master. I must take it back. Yan Chuan is extremely strange. This time, just in case, I want to ask for your help to retrieve my things. Mohina Dojin said in a deep voice. Your things? Tao Lord Yu smiled. Alright, you and I have been friends for many years. Since you asked, I will naturally agree. Alright, let's go to the Heaven Tribulation Mountain Range now. Chapter 866. East Divine Continent, in a mountain forest. It was quiet all around. In the center of the forest, there was a huge altar about 10 zhang in size. On the altar, there were many mysterious runes carved on it. Two people stood beside the altar. Shangguan Wan, and Mou Shi. Miss Shangguan, we've been here for a few days. Why haven't we seen Yuan Tiangang? Mou Shi asked curiously. Shangguan Wan, looked at the sun in the sky. She calculated the time. Soon. He should be here soon. Shangguan Wan, smiled. Soon. Miss Shangguan, who is Yuan Tiangang? Why haven't I heard of him? Mou Shi asked curiously. Oh. Girl, have you heard of all the experts in the world? Shangguan Wan, smiled. You said that if my mother values him, he must be one of the strongest people in the world. I've studied all the strongest people in the world, but I've never heard of Yuan Tiangang. Which sect is he from? Mou Shi didn't understand. How much do you know about the Holy Master? Shangguan Wan, smiled. Mou Shi was surprised. It seemed that she didn't know much about Jing Ming. He's here. Shangguan Wan, suddenly smiled. Mou Shi immediately looked around, but there wasn't anyone in the surroundings. She looked at Shangguan Wan, and saw that she was looking at the sky. Mou Shi looked at the sky curiously. A group of stars suddenly appeared in the sky. This is starlight? Am I seeing things? It's daytime. Mou Shi exclaimed. There were a total of 36 stars in the sky, shining brightly. It was daytime. Starlight illuminates this altar. Only you and I can see it. Shangguan Wan, explained. This is the Heavenly Leader Star, the Heavenly Strength Star, the Heavenly Brave Star, the 36 stars of the Heavenly Strength Star. Mou Shi recognized them. The 36 stars of the Heavenly Strength Star rushed to the altar below. Who? Standing up close, Zhang Xian could clearly see that it was as if a massive pillar of light had descended from the heavens, and the 36 streaks of starlight had converged into one. Boom! There was a loud explosion high up in the sky. It was as if a massive force had torn the void apart. Buzz! A white figure suddenly appeared in the torn space. The man was dressed in a white robe, and his hair was combed into a bun. He held a horsetail whisk in his hand. Although he looked like a mortal in his 40s, he looked extremely handsome. The white-robed figure slowly descended from the sky like a celestial being descending to the mortal world. Immortal, immortal. No, someone from the immortal realm. Did he come from the immortal realm? Mou Shi exclaimed. Lass, don't panic. This is Yuan Tiangang. Shangguan said with a smile. High up in the sky, the white-robed figure slowly descended with a carefree smile on his face. Who? Yuan Tiangang landed on the altar, held the horsetail whisk in his hand, and threw it to the sky. Who? Above the sky, the wind and clouds suddenly changed color. The starlight that had been rushing down suddenly dispersed, and the 36 stars of the heavenly strength star were hidden in the daytime. When the clouds in the sky dispersed, everything returned to normal. The sky was high and the clouds were light, as if nothing had happened. Lord Yuan, it's been a long time. Shangguan said with a smile. On the altar, Yuan Tiangang smiled and said, Lord Shangguan, it's been a long time. Is this Lord Shangguan's? Yuan Tiangang smiled and said. Aren't you good at divination? See for yourself. Shangguan said with a smile. Chapter 867. Oh. Yuan Tiangang was slightly curious and immediately looked at Mo Yushi. As he looked, Yuan Tiangang's face turned solemn. Yuan Tiangang immediately stepped forward and said, Excuse me. Mo Yushi bowed slightly and said, Dazhao Holy Land, Lord Taoist Yushi greets Senior Yuan Tiangang. You flatter me. Yuan Tiangang immediately dodged. Yuan Tiangang had already calculated some things about Mo Yushi, but he wasn't sure if Jing Ming had recognized her. There are also times when Lord Yuan can't calculate. Shangguan smiled. Yuan Tiangang smiled bitterly. The Holy Master has recognized Yushi, Mo Yushi. Shangguan explained. Recognized? Yuan Tiangang's face immediately turned solemn. Yuan Tiangang greets Princess. Yuan Tiangang immediately said. Mo Yushi was slightly stunned. Princess. I don't dare. Mo Yushi immediately returned the greeting. I came in a hurry and didn't bring too much. This armored soybean soldier was made in my spare time. I give it to Princess. Yuan Tiangang took out a soybean and handed it over. Soybean. Mo Yushi looked blankly at the soybean that Yuan Tiangang handed over. Girl, why aren't you thanking Yuan Tiangang? These soybean armored soldiers are extraordinary. Shangguan immediately said from the side. Oh, thank you, Senior. Mo Yushi took it and said. Don't call me Senior. If Princess doesn't mind, just call me Mr. Yuan. Yuan Tiangang smiled. Okay, Mr. Yuan. Yushi is curious. What is this armored soybean soldier? Mo Yushi asked curiously. When Princess is in danger, plant this soybean in the soil and it will grow into an armored soybean soldier to block the danger for Princess. Yuan Tiangang explained patiently. Thank you, Mr. Yuan. Mo Yushi was knowledgeable and immediately knew how precious it was. Yuan Tiangang nodded and then looked at Shangguan. Lord Shangguan, how are the preparations? Holy Lord, do you still need to worry about me? How is it outside? Shangguan asked. Lord Di and Princess Taiping have already set up a formation outside. We are only waiting for the sacred Lord. Yuan Tiangang said solemnly. That's good. Let's go. Follow me back to see the Holy Master. Shangguan said. Good. Yuan Tiangang nodded. Heavenly Tribulation Mountain Range. Yan Chuan was sitting in a large hall. The god's sword had been plundering the life force of the zombies for half a month. Yan Chuan had also benefited greatly from it. As he digested a large number of spirit stones, Yan Chuan's cultivation base had also soared. The first level of the lower void stage. Second level lower void stage. Third level of the lower void stage. Fourth level lower void stage. Rising 3 levels in a row. This was different from his previous cultivation. Now that he had reached the lower void realm, every increase in level was extremely difficult. At this moment, in just half a month, he had increased 3 levels in a row. Yan Chuan couldn't help but sigh at the fact that he had made the right choice to practice the sword. Just as Yan Chuan was preparing to break through to the 5th level, Yan Chuan suddenly raised his eyebrows. As soon as he opened his eyes, 2 rays of light suddenly shot out from his eyes. Good technique. You actually stepped into the God's sword formation and went all the way to the depths. Yan Chuan said solemnly. He stood up and waved his sleeves to put away all the spirit stones. This was because Yan Chuan knew that the opponent's powerhouse had arrived. It was no longer the time to cultivate. Yan Chuan stepped forward and walked toward the entrance of the large hall. The person who had broken into the God's sword formation was the Snake Emperor. The Snake Emperor did not look for Yan Chuan. Instead, as soon as he entered the God's sword formation, he relied on his extraordinary experience to go around the sword formation and find the place where Mr. Monroe was lying. The Heavenly Tribulation Meridian. He stood at the foot of a mountain. The Snake Emperor narrowed his eyes. Chapter 868. There is a sword array outside and a flag array inside. What is the secret in this Heaven's Calamity Point? The Heaven's Calamity Point has always been an ominous point, the Snake Emperor muttered to himself. Heaven's Calamity Point, the Snake Emperor narrowed his eyes and was about to enter. Wang! The moment the Snake Emperor stepped in, yellow light shot out from the mountain. Humph! The Snake Emperor snorted with disdain. He stomped his foot. Boom! The yellow light protecting the mountain shattered with a loud bang. The Snake Emperor was about to continue walking deeper. Dang! A bell chime sounded and a yellow light shot out. The Snake Emperor's expression changed as he slammed his palm forward. Boom! The huge impact caused the surrounding rocks to fly in all directions and explosions to erupt everywhere. The Snake Emperor took a step back and the yellow light formed by the bell chime was dispersed. The Snake Emperor's expression darkened. A figure in a golden robe appeared in front of the Snake Emperor. Jin Dayu held the giant bell in his hand and stood in front of the Snake Emperor. Jin Dayu squinted his eyes and revealed a cold light. The Snake Emperor's eyes were cold too. The two of them were at each other's throats. Good treasure, the Snake Emperor looked at the giant bell and said affirmatively. Who are you? Jin Dayu asked. The Snake Emperor revealed a sinister smile and turned to look at the mountain again. So, the sword array outside wasn't set up by you? The Snake Emperor asked. Rumble. The huge God sword array suddenly retracted and the endless sword aura disappeared. The God sword also flew to a hall not far away. Quang! The door of the hall opened and Yan Chuan stepped out. The Snake Emperor looked over and raised his eyebrows. Someone from the Great Calamity Dynasty? Yan Chuan asked. Oh. You know about my Great Calamity Dynasty? Cough cough. The Snake Emperor coughed with a handkerchief and looked at Yan Chuan with interest. Didn't you see my sword formation? Yan Chuan asked in a low voice. I saw it. But, so what? The Snake Emperor smiled evilly. I don't care if King Gaiyu wants to fight with Jing Ming. But, you better not provoke me. Yan Chuan said. The Snake Emperor's expression changed. Looking for a fight with Jing Ming? King of Gaia. Who are you? How do you know? The Snake Emperor said coldly. Is this a secret? Yan Chuan laughed. Secrets? They had just arrived and hadn't told anyone. How could this not be considered a secret? However, the Snake Emperor adjusted his state of mind very quickly. If that's the case, then get lost. The Snake Emperor said in a deep voice. Oh. Get lost? Are all the officials of the Great Nightmare Heaven dynasty like this? Yan Chuan sneered. The Snake Emperor narrowed his eyes, and a poisonous glint gradually appeared in his eyes. Yan Chuan also looked at the Snake Emperor coldly. The Snake Emperor remained motionless. Suddenly, a venomous light burst forth from his eyes. Boom! The ground in front of Yan Chuan suddenly shattered, and a huge black snake head, 1 zhang wide, rushed out from the ground. The snake head rushed out and opened its bloody mouth. With a roar, it opened its mouth and bit towards Yan Chuan. The huge snake was ferocious. Before the snake arrived, a fishy smell rushed towards him. Roar! The huge snake bit towards Yan Chuan, as if it wanted to swallow Yan Chuan in one bite. Yan Chuan faced the huge snake, and his body remained motionless. There was no trace of panic in his eyes. Just as the huge snake was about to bite Yan Chuan. Bang! The huge snake suddenly stopped, and a look of surprise appeared in its eyes. The long snake body couldn't get any closer. Not far away, the Snake Emperor's expression changed. Whoosh! There seemed to be a huge force pulling the snake from the ground, pulling it back quickly. Roar! The huge snake roared, but it couldn't stop the force that came from underground. Boom! The huge snake was pulled back into the depths of the ground, and in the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. All that was left for the Snake Emperor was a look of, "Help me." Chapter 869. Yan Chuan vs. Serpent Emperor. When the giant snake broke out of the ground, it wanted the element of surprise and the control of the ground. But in the blink of an eye, it was pulled away by a force from the ground. Serpent Emperor was speechless. Snake? You're the Serpent Emperor? Yan Chuan said with a serious expression. He had been in the Dazhao Holy Land for 2 years, so naturally, there were spies in the southern divine continent. Yan Chuan also had a certain understanding of the Nightmare Dynasty. Serpent Emperor. The Nightmare Dynasty's supreme beast. Serpent Emperor narrowed his eyes, and the viciousness in his eyes grew. Who are you? Serpent Emperor asked coldly. Yan Chuan smiled and said, "It doesn't matter who I am. This world isn't as simple as you think. If you leave now, I'll let bygones be bygones." Let bygones be bygones? TSK TSK TSK, the people of this world really overestimate themselves. With just you. 4th level lower void stage. If I can't force you to leave today, I won't be called Serpent Emperor. Serpent Emperor said with a cold light in his eyes. As he spoke, Serpent Emperor suddenly waved his hand. The surrounding ground suddenly trembled as if there was an earthquake, but the frequency of the earthquake was different in every place. The ground bulged as if there were many things underground. Boom! The ground shattered, and countless snake heads suddenly emerged from the ground. The snake heads soared into the sky, and the sea of snakes surged. On the ground, within a radius of 10 miles, there were numerous poisonous snakes. Countless poisonous snakes coiled around each other, and it was like a snake cave magnified thousands of times. Serpent Emperor stood on the head of a 300 feet large snake. His eyes were cold as he looked down at the sea of snakes. Cough cough cough. His eyes were cold as he coughed. Snakes, as far as the eye could see, the mountains were filled with snakes. The trees were crushed by the large snakes, and the mountains and rivers were filled with countless poisonous snakes. Just the appearance of these poisonous snakes was much stronger than the previous zombies. Some of the large snakes even opened their mouths and swallowed a large number of small snakes. All of them looked at Yan Chuan with poisonous eyes. Sword chi shot out from under Yan Chuan's feet, making it difficult for the poisonous snakes to approach. Are you going to retreat? Serpent Emperor said coldly. Yan Chuan smiled coldly. My people, devour him. The Snake Emperor shouted coldly. Roar! Roar! The 10,000 snakes attacked madly, each of them opening their mouths, aiming directly at Yan Chuan. Like a huge tsunami, layer upon layer, they swept towards Yan Chuan. Humph! Yan Chuan snorted coldly. In front of Yan Chuan, a large number of giant vines suddenly rushed out. As soon as the giant vines appeared, they brought with them a powerful force that instantly shattered the giant snakes around Yan Chuan. Bam! 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 Giant vines rushed out from the sea of snakes and quickly wrapped around the poisonous snakes. The surrounding ground was already filled with vines and snakes. Ka 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 ka. The twisting force of the snake and the twisting force of the giant vine were locked in a stalemate. For a moment, a fierce battle broke out. Boom! 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 Snake tails and giant vines constantly clashed with each other. The huge collision caused many places to explode. Above the sea of snakes and vines, a giant vine supported Yan Chuan and slowly floated up. Yan Chuan stood on a giant vine and the Snake Emperor stood on the head of a giant snake. They looked at each other. Vines? The sea of snakes narrowed their eyes. At this moment, a bell rang not far away. Dang! The bell rang directly into the ground. Under the huge impact, the ground trembled. Bam! Bam! A large number of poisonous snakes burst out from the ground. Chapter 870. Jin Dayu held the giant bell in his hand and looked at the Snake Emperor coldly. Fighting with me is just a pretense. You still can't forget about the Heaven's Calamity Meridian. Yan Chuan said with cold eyes. So what? Do you think you can stop me? Crack! The Snake Emperor roared. He formed a seal with his hand. Grow! With a loud roar, the giant snake under his feet suddenly grew. In the blink of an eye, it grew to a length of 100 zhang and then to a length of 1,000 zhang. The giant snake's eyes emitted a dazzling white light as it opened its mouth and roared. The snake's tail stood up and slapped the ground. Boom! The earth shook and the mountains shook. The giant snake's body was as big as a few mountains and rivers. When the snake pressed down, all the other snakes submitted to it. The giant snake emitted a majestic aura. Under the pressure of the aura, the trees in the distance all bent down. Jin Dayu's expression changed. Yan Chuan looked at the 1,000 zhang snake and focused his eyes. This was the first time Yan Chuan saw such a giant snake. When the snake released its power, Yan Chuan could feel it. It was definitely an upper emptiness realm expert. The giant snake faced Yan Chuan and suddenly roared. Roar! It was like a shock wave. With a roar, a hurricane rushed toward Yan Chuan. The soil under Yan Chuan's feet shot up into the sky. Even the hall behind Yan Chuan was destroyed. Yan Chuan's eyes focused. Vine Demon. Yeah. In the sea of vines, the Vine Demon slowly emerged. The Vine Demon was huge because its vines extended for 10 li. When the giant Vine Demon floated up with Yan Chuan, it was no less majestic than the giant snake. Yeah. Roar! The giant snake and the Vine Demon fought against each other. The giant snakes and vines on the ground didn't look so scary anymore. Vine Demon. The Snake Emperor squinted his eyes and stared at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan sneered and pulled out the Jade Emperor sword from his back. He turned his head slightly. Yan Chuan's body was suddenly surrounded by a bloody mist. Bang! Blood mist suddenly appeared. Yan Chuan's hair also quickly turned blood red. The Snake Emperor's eyes revealed an evil light. Yan Chuan was using his super mystique at this moment, and his eyes also revealed an evil light. In fact, they were even more evil than the Snake Emperor's. Boom! With Yan Chuan as the center, the ground beneath his feet suddenly turned bright red. At some point in time, a large amount of fresh blood had appeared on the 10,000 Snake Sea, forming a huge sea of blood. Yan Chuan was surrounded by waves of blood. A vast sea of blood surrounded Yan Chuan, making Yan Chuan look like a peerless demon god. Yan Chuan's aura surged as he rushed forward. The surrounding snakes dodged in fright. Not far away, Jin Dayu looked at Yan Chuan in astonishment. This was the first time Jin Dayu witnessed the power of Yan Chuan's sacred art. How could this sacred art's aura be stronger than his? The Snake Emperor looked at Yan Chuan in astonishment. Transformation. His blood-red hair draped down to Yan Chuan's waist. Snake Emperor, are you leaving or not? Yan Chuan said coldly. Cough, cough, cough. Leave. What a joke. The Snake Emperor said coldly. Yan Chuan waved the Jade Emperor's sword in his hand. Boom! From the sea of blood below, billions of sword auras suddenly appeared. The sword auras rushed towards the rolling snakes in the sea of blood. In an instant, the snakes in the sea of blood were all hit by thousands of blood swords. Ah! Roar! Woo! The snakes roared, but the blood swords were too sharp. In an instant, tens of thousands of snakes wailed and fell into a pool of blood. Seeing countless snakes die in an instant, the Snake Emperor roared angrily, "You are courting death." Whoosh! The giant snake opened its mouth and spat out endless poisonous smoke. Its body rushed towards Yan Chuan quickly. Chapter 871. Roar. Wherever the poisonous smoke went, the sea of blood was immediately dyed green. The toxicity was too fierce. Even a large number of giant vines were instantly corroded by the poisonous smoke. However, the vines could regenerate, and the blood sea depended on Yan Chuan's will. Humph! Yan Chuan took a step forward and slashed with the Jade Emperor's sword. The sword slashed down, and a huge wave of blood followed. The energy sword slashed at the giant snake. Boom! The sword and the snake collided. The blood sea surged into the sky. The huge shockwave from the collision shook the entire Heavenly Tribulation mountain range. Keek keek. Good snake. Again. Super Yan Chuan shouted excitedly. Ah! The vine demons quickly coiled around the giant snake. The giant snake was also very strong. With a shake, it shattered many vines. The giant snake's skin was very thick. Yan Chuan's sword could not cut through the snake's skin. Hiss! The Serpent Emperor hissed. Another 10,000 feet long snake appeared in the blood sea. The Serpent Emperor controlled the two giant snakes to surround Yan Chuan. Although Yan Chuan was being chased by the two snakes, he was not afraid. Instead, he was excited. Whoosh! His body moved nimbly through the blood sea. Roar! Yan Chuan let out a loud roar, and the blood sea soared to the sky, rolling up monstrous waves towards the two giant snakes. Hiss! The Serpent Emperor hissed again. A third 10,000 feet long snake appeared in the blood sea. Another one. They're all at the upper void realm. Jin Dayu's expression changed. With the appearance of the three giant snakes, the blood sea's energy seemed to be insufficient. Yan Chuan was also in a difficult position. Ha 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 ha. What do you think? Another one. Hiss. The Serpent Emperor laughed evilly. Bang! The fourth 10,000 feet long snake appeared and surrounded Yan Chuan. It seemed like Yan Chuan had nowhere to run. Your Majesty, I will help you. Jin Dayu shouted from afar. Don't come over. We have our ways. Be careful of a sneak attack. Yan Chuan roared. Ah! Jin Dayu's expression changed, and he stopped immediately. Be careful of a sneak attack. You have a way. Ha! Do you have any other ideas? Snake Emperor asked in disbelief. Stepping on the vine monster, Yan Chuan looked up at the sky and suddenly roared. Roar! With a loud roar, a beam of light shot down from the sky. A beam of starlight instantly enveloped Yan Chuan. Star will. Yan Chuan mobilized the power of the stars, and his strength increased once again. Boom! Because of Yan Chuan's strength, the blood sea rose again. The blood sea soared into the sky and enveloped the 4 giant snakes and the Snake Emperor in the blink of an eye. Boom! 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 The sea of blood churned wildly. The sky to the south of the heavenly tribulation acupoint was completely covered by the sea of blood. Inside, Yan Chuan and the Snake Emperor fought each other, splattering a torrential rain of blood. Under the fierce battle, the south of the heavenly tribulation acupoint was completely dyed red. Jin Dayu looked at the gigantic blood sea in front of him in shock. For a moment, he was stunned, and then he laughed bitterly. All this while, Jin Dayu had thought that Yan Chuan was strong in every aspect, except for his strength. But at this moment, Jin Dayu suddenly realized that it wasn't that Yan Chuan was weaker than him, but that Yan Chuan had been unwilling to reveal it. The vine monster could be seen as a Dharma treasure. Then, wasn't this blood sea a portrayal of Yan Chuan's true strength? At this moment, the last bit of unwillingness in Jin Dayu's heart to submit to Yan Chuan completely dissipated. At this moment, north of the heavenly tribulation acupoint. On the peak of a mountain, Mohina Dojin and Dao Lord Yu looked at the blood sea in the distance in surprise. Yan Chuan is indeed strange. Dao Lord Yu said with a dark expression. Speaking of which, up until now, Dao Lord Yu had not looked at Yan Chuan properly. After all, his cultivation was too weak. But right now, could he still say that he was weak? But Mohina Dojin stared at Jin Dayu, who was still in a daze there. Looking at that giant bell above Jin Dayu's head, an uncontrollable desire flashed across Mohina Dojin's eyes. Whoosh! Mohina Dojin pounced straight towards Jin Dayu. Chapter 872. The unlucky Mohina Dojinjin Dayu was shocked by the sea of blood in front of him. However, he still remembered Yan Chuan's words. Be careful of sneak attacks. Suddenly, Jin Dayu felt a threat approaching from behind. Jin Dayu's hair stood on end, and his body swayed violently. The giant bell above his head started to vibrate. Dang! The bell rang and the space around the giant bell seemed to be blurred. The huge vibrating force collided with the incoming palm. Boom! The outstretched palm was knocked back with a loud bang. Jin Dayu turned his head to look at the attacker. Mohina Dojin. Jin Dayu's face darkened. Sunfire Essence Stone. Magical treasures refined from it are indeed extraordinary. Mohina Dojin sighed at the quality of the giant bell. Mohina Dojin, shameless. Jin Dayu flew up with the giant bell in his hand. Shameless? This is mine. Kid, give it to me. Dao Black Sun waved his hand, and a large golden net suddenly appeared in his palm. The net radiated with towering flames as it swept towards Jin Dayu and the giant bell. Wah! Jin Dayu shouted and turned into a huge three-legged golden crow. Jin Dayu knew that he was no match for Mohina Dojin. He had to use his strongest ability. He turned into a golden crow and clawed at the top of the giant bell. Flames shot out from his body as if he had become one with the giant bell and turned into a sun. Boom! The huge fire net was even more magical. It wrapped around the sun in an instant. Ha ha ha, you are only a so-so. This bell is wasted in your hands. Let me take it. Mohina Dojin laughed. Chaos Second Echo. Dang! Bang! The giant net exploded with a loud bang. It turned into thousands of pieces. Wah! The three-legged golden crow let out a caw, then opened its mouth and swallowed all of the fiery chi on the giant net. Humph! Mohina Dojin's face changed. He stretched out his hand and took out another fire lotus. Then, he threw it at the three-legged golden crow. Wah! The three-legged golden crow opened its mouth again. It swallowed all the flames in one gulp. Mohina Dojin's flames lost their effect. Mohina Dojin's face changed. What species is this beast? It could even refine the flames of the fire lotus? That was the poisonous fire. Good, good, good. Let's see how long you can play with fire in front of me. Dao Lord Black Sun said with a cold expression. Fire? In the eyes of Dao Monarch Black Sun, apart from Jing Ting, no one else in the world could outplay him. A little, how dare a little beast Dojin, swallow his fire. Mohina Dojin Mohina. And, red Dojin red above. True Samadhi flames. Dao Lord Mantis Sun tossed the small bottle over, and a large amount of flames gushed out and enveloped the three-legged golden crow. Wah! The three-legged golden crow cried out and swallowed it. The three-legged golden crow was surprised. Did Mohina Dojin really think that it was an ordinary beast cultivator? Gulp! The rolling Samadhi true fire was swallowed by the three-legged golden crow. What does it matter if you can refine a little flame? My bottle contains 30 million Samadhi true fire. Let's see how long you can refine it. Mohina Dojin read. Chapter 873. Even if he could refine a little bit of fire, it was not a little bit in front of him. It was 30 million true Samadhi fire. Even an upper void realm cultivator could be burned. Gulyalu. Jin Dayu opened his mouth and kept swallowing. It was not refining. To Jin Dayu, as long as it was fire, it was a tonic. No one knew except for Jin Dayu himself. His ancestor, the invincible ancestor, was a great existence that was born from the sun. The ancestral court of all fire in the world, the sun. To be born from the sun, would it be afraid of fire? Gulyalu. Mohina Dojin would never have thought that he was giving Jin Dayu what he wanted the most. The rolling true Samadhi fire poured into Jin Dayu's mouth. Impossible, why are you still fine? You swallowed half of the true Samadhi fire that I collected for 1,000 years? Mohina Dojin's expression changed. Naturally, Jin Dayu would not reply. He continued to gobble up as he silently made a fortune. Humph, can't speak. Looks like you can't take it anymore. I'll stuff you to death. Mohina Dojin roared. Rumble. The amount of true Samadhi fire increased again. In the distance, Dao Lord Yu was slightly stunned. At the same time, he felt awkward. What was awkward? Dao Lord Yu thought about it and finally understood. Where was the awkwardness? Mohina Dojin held a bottle and kept feeding the three-legged golden crow flames, like a mortal feeding milk. How was this a battle? Dao Lord Yu was conflicted. Should he say it? Bam! The last true Samadhi fire poured into the three-legged golden crow's mouth. Mohina Dojin looked at the bottle in his hand in a daze, his face full of disbelief. How is this possible? This is the amount that I saved for 1,000 years. Mohina Dojin said in shock. In the distance, the three-legged golden crow flapped its wings. The flames around its body became even stronger. Mohina Dojin, why did you stop? Jin Dayu shouted. Mohina Dojin's face darkened. This was enough to burn an upper void stage cultivator. Humph, evil creature, since you want it, I'll let you have a taste of real fire. Mohina Dojin's eyes flashed coldly. Mohina Dojin roared, great merit, Dharma manifestation. Boom! A golden light descended from the sky, and Mohina Dojin immediately radiated golden light in all directions. After mobilizing the virtuous Dharma idol of the great Zhao Holy Land, Mohina Dojin's strength skyrocketed once again. Jin Dayu was definitely not Mohina Dojin's opponent. As long as Mohina Dojin made a move, he would definitely be able to snatch the bell. But at this moment, Mohina Dojin suddenly became stubborn. It was also because of his bad luck. The flame that Mohina Dojin was so proud of couldn't do anything to the three-legged golden crow. Flame was something that Mohina Dojin was so proud of, but now it couldn't do anything to the opponent. It was a great humiliation. Mohina Dojin's eyes hardened, and he reached out his hand to grab the sky. The pillar of light that connected to the sun suddenly emitted an even more dazzling golden light and produced a rolling sound. Rumble. The rolling flame was drawn down from the sun. What are you doing? The three-legged golden crow's face sank. What am I doing? Can't you swallow it? The true samadhi fire that I have accumulated for 1,000 years has been taken away by you. Continue to swallow. Let's see how you will swallow the world's most domineering true sun fire. What I burned you that day was only the true sun fire's fire energy, but this is the purest true sun fire. Die! Mohina Dojin roared. Boom! The rolling golden true sun fire that was drawn down by Mohina Dojin rushed straight toward Jin Dayu. The most domineering true sun fire. The rolling true sun fire rushed toward the three-legged golden crow. Chapter 874. The three-legged golden crow suddenly opened its mouth. Wow! Under Mohina Dojin's thankful gaze, the three-legged golden crow did not have time to escape. Instead, it opened its mouth and let the true sun fire enter it. Rumble. The powerful true sun fire seemed to burn the entire world red as it surged into the three-legged golden crow's mouth. The three-legged golden crow flapped its wings while twisting. Seeing the three-legged golden crow twisting, Mohina Dojin's face twisted into a smile. Ha 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 ha. Mohina Dojin laughed and continued to activate the true sun fire. Playing with fire, no one in this world can compare to me except the Holy Master. Mohina Dojin said confidently. At the same time, Mohina Dojin's forehead was sweating profusely. It was obvious that activating the true sun fire was extremely taxing. But it was all worth it. The three-legged golden crow in the distance was constantly shedding feathers. Mohina Dojin only saw the three-legged golden crow shedding feathers, but he did not see that the three-legged golden crow was not only shedding feathers, but also growing feathers. Where the feathers fell, larger golden feathers grew out. Ka ka ka. Jin Dayu's aura grew stronger. His ancestor was born from the sun. To Jin Dayu, the true sun fire was not destructive. It was incomparably warm like amniotic fluid. Sensing the increase in Jin Dayu's aura, Mohina Dojin's face darkened. What's going on? Is it a dying counterattack? Rumble. At this moment, in the sky above Jin Dayu's head, rolling dark clouds suddenly appeared, blotting out the sky and pressing down on Jin Dayu. No, you're wrong. Tao Lord Yu exclaimed. This is the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation, the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Jin Dayu is cultivating with the help of your flames. He has broken through. Tao Lord Yu exclaimed. Breakthrough? Mohina Dojin was extremely shocked. How could this be? He worked so hard, but not only did he not burn the three-legged golden crow to death, he even helped it break through. How did this beast cultivate? Boom! Mohina Dojin was so angry that he cut off the supply of the true sun flame. At this moment, Mohina Dojin finally understood where the 30 million true samadhi fire had gone to. It had all gone to Jin Dayu. Mohina Dojin was extremely embarrassed, but Jin Dayu was extremely excited. Jin Dayu wasn't worried at all under the pressure of the heavenly tribulation. Instead, He was excited. Wow! The three-legged golden crow flapped its wings and rushed toward the tribulation clouds with the giant bell in its hand. In the blink of an eye, they charged into the rolling tribulation clouds. Dang! A loud bell rang out from the tribulation clouds, and the originally thick tribulation clouds instantly shattered. Wah! The golden crow cried, and endless flames erupted. The huge dark cloud suddenly exploded and burned. The 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation was shattered by the three-legged golden crow. He had passed the 69 heavenly tribulations. Downlord Young Moon opened her mouth in shock. Downlord Mantis, on the other hand, was so embarrassed that he wanted to slap himself. He had such a huge advantage previously. He could have done anything to Jin Dayu. Why did he have to burn him? Now, not only did Jin Dayu not die, but his cultivation was also burned. Upper Void Realm. Jin Dayu had reached the Upper Void Realm. In the sky, the three-legged golden crow's body swayed and turned into a human again. Thank you, Mohina Dojin, for fulfilling my wish. Jin Dayu said with a smile. Fulfilling my wish? Fulfilling your wish, my foot. Mohina Dojin was burning with anger. Upper Void Realm? So what? Mohina Dojin's eyes narrowed, and he reached out to grab again. This time, Mohina Dojin didn't need to be angry anymore. Chapter 875. Editor Mohina Dojin cultivated fire. He believed that other than Jing Ting, no one else in the world could match him. That was why he repeatedly used fire to attack Jin Dayu. Fire, this was Mohina Dojin's field of expertise. From the beginning to the end, Mohina Dojin did not believe that anyone could withstand his fire. It was because of his overconfidence that he failed to burn Jin Dayu and instead created Jin Dayu. Earlier, capturing Jin Dayu might have taken some effort, but it wasn't difficult. But now, Jin Dayu actually broke through. Upper Void Stage. Upper Void Stage. So what? Mohina Dojin's eyes narrowed as he reached out his hand again. This time, Mohina Dojin did not need to be popular anymore. Mohina Dojin, even if he did not use fire, his strength was still incomparably tyrannical. He struck out with his right palm, forming a golden palm in the air and grabbing at Jin Dayu. Clang! 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 The bell in Jin Dayu's hand vibrated rapidly, sending out waves after waves of powerful sound waves towards the Mouse Sun golden palm. Boom! 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 Finally, 100 feet away, Zhongming managed to block the golden dawn palm. Ka 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 ka! The golden palm let out a series of cracking noises, attempting to crush the sound waves created by the bell. However, Jin Dayu had also activated all of his power, causing the giant bell to release wave after wave of sound waves. In the past, Mohina Dojin would have been able to take down the bell in an instant with just a burst of fire from his palm. But now, would Mohina Dojin still dare to play with fire? Mohina Dojin and Jin Dayu both had ferocious expressions on their faces, as if they had reached their limits. However, even though Mohina Dojin did not use fire, he could not do anything to Jin Dayu. Mohina Dojin narrowed his eyes. His left hand, which was hidden in his sleeve, suddenly produced a black lotus. It was the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus that Mo Yushi and Yen Chuan had obtained from the Feng Shui formation. The moment the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus appeared, Mohina Dojin's left hand was suddenly dyed pitch black. The surrounding air was suddenly dyed by this demonic aura. Mohina Dojin's eyes turned cold, and he was about to attack with his pitch black left hand. Maori, I'll help you. Dao Lord Yu Yu's voice came from afar. Whoosh! A silver light suddenly appeared and charged towards the giant bell. Maori Yu's Dojins, Yu Yu of the 10,000 Wonders. 10. I have used Dojins SS 10 years, I of you of 2 you that of yous, you 2. You Dayu use of there. Maori and Jean Dayu were in a stalemate while Dao Lord Yu reaped the benefits. Bastard! Dao Lord Black Sun's face tightened. However, Dao Lord Yu would not listen to him. Instead, he reached out and grabbed the giant bell. Oh! Dao Lord Yu's expression suddenly changed. A silver palm suddenly appeared in front of Dao Lord Yu. Hong! A powerful collision forced Dao Lord Yu to retreat hundreds of meters. This collision also caused the battle between Maori and Jean Dayu to break apart. Strong winds blew in all directions. In the center of the storm, apart from Jean Dayu, there was another white-robed figure. It was this white-robed figure who forced Dao Lord Yu back with a palm. Bai Ditian. Dao Lord Yu's expression changed. Standing in front of Jean Dayu was the sovereign of Great Zhen, Bai Ditian. In the wind, Bai Ditian's white robes fluttered. Thank you for your help, Sovereign Bai. Jean Dayu took a deep breath. Bai Ditian nodded gently and did not say anything. Instead, he looked at Maori and Yu. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.